The rain doesn't fall gently here. It slashes through the air like broken glass, each drop sharp enough to sting, cold enough to remind her that the world has always been cruel. The courtyard stones gleam black under the storm, slick with water and something darker, fear, maybe, or the residue of violence that soaks into ancient places and never quite washes away. She presses herself against the curved wall of the eastern tower, her bare feet screaming against the frozen ground, her breath coming in ragged gasps that tear at her throat. Her name is Kaya, though barely anyone has spoken it in years. Not with kindness. Not with anything resembling warmth. The darkness wraps around her like a living thing, but it's not the darkness she fears. It's what moves through it. The footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, growing closer with every heartbeat that slams against her ribs. They're hunting her. Again. Always again. Because that's what they do to girls like her. Girls marked by tragedy, stained by grief, so profound it changed the very scent of their blood. She can hear their voices carried on the wind, rough and eager. The broken one ran again. She'll be at the old gate. She always hides there. Stupid Omega thinks she can just disappear. Kaya's fingers dig into the stone wall, her nails splitting against the rough surface. She wants to disappear. She spent 3 years trying to become invisible, trying to shrink herself down to nothing, trying to take up so little space that maybe, just maybe, they'd forget she existed at all. But invisibility is a luxury not granted to those born under cursed moons, to those whose grief manifests in ways that make even hardened warriors step back in fear. The scar on her shoulder blade burns. It always burns when she's terrified, a silver-white mark in the shape of a crescent that showed up the night her family died. The night everything ended. The healers whispered about it when they thought she couldn't hear. Called it a death mark. A sign that she'd touched something forbidden, something that should have killed her too. Maybe it should have. Lightning cracks across the sky, illuminating the courtyard in brutal clarity for just a moment. She sees them, for guards, maybe 5, fanning out across the space with the practiced efficiency of men who've done this before. Her stomach drops. They've cut off her usual escape routes. They've learned. She's trapped. The thought should paralyze her, but instead it lights something deep in her chest. Something that's been dormant for so long she'd almost forgotten it was there. It flickers like a candle flame behind glass, fragile but persistent. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. This is colder, sharper. The anger of someone who's been pushed down one too many times and is finally, desperately, considering the option of pushing back. But she can't. She's an Omega. Broken. Powerless. These are the things she's been told so many times they've become her truth. Her shoulders curl inward, her body making itself smaller even as her mind screams at her to run, to fight, to do anything but stand here shaking like prey waiting for the predator's teeth. Found her. The shout comes from her left, and suddenly they're converging, their boots splashing through puddles, their faces twisted with something that makes her skin crawl. It's not just duty in their expressions. It's satisfaction. Entertainment. She's tonight's distraction from the boredom of guard duty, the weak thing they can chase through the storm because it makes them feel strong. Kaya bolts. Her feet slip on the wet stones, her ankle twists painfully, but she doesn't stop. She can't. The eastern garden is ahead. Overgrown, neglected, the one place on the royal grounds where the paths twist enough that she might lose them. Her lungs burn. Her legs feel like they're made of water, ready to give out at any moment, but she pushes harder. The rain pounds against her, plastering her thin dress to her body, the fabric so soaked it's become heavy as chain mail. She should have grabbed her cloak. Should have been smarter, faster, better. But she'd heard them talking in the servants' quarters, heard them planning to drag her to the Alpha's judgment hall in the morning, to finally make an example of the girl who'd somehow survived when she should have died. She couldn't stay. Not for another night in that windowless room. Not for another morning waking up to whispers and accusations and eyes that looked at her like she was already a corpse. A hand grazes her shoulder. She screams, the sound ripping from somewhere primal, and throws herself sideways. She hits the ground hard, her palms scraping against gravel, fresh pain exploding up her arms. But she's free of his grip, and she scrambles forward on hands and knees before forcing herself upright again. "Come on, little Omega," one of them calls, his voice thick with amusement. "We're not going to hurt you. We just want to bring you back where you belong."
Lies.
All lies. She's seen the bruises on the other Omegas, the ones who've misbehaved. She knows exactly what bringing her back means. The garden path narrows, thorny vines reaching out to snag her dress, her hair, her skin. She feels them tearing at her, drawing thin lines of blood, but pain has become such a constant companion that this barely registers. What does register is the sound of footsteps behind her, still following, still close, still inevitable. And then the path opens up. She stumbles into a clearing she's never seen before, which doesn't make sense because she's explored every hidden corner of these grounds over the past 3 years. But here it is, a circular space ringed by ancient oak trees, their branches forming a canopy so thick that even the storm barely penetrates. In the center stands a stone structure, half crumbled, covered in moss and carved with symbols that seem to writhe in the dim light. An altar.
Old.
Older than the kingdom itself, maybe. The burning in her shoulder blade intensifies, spreading across her back like fire dancing under her skin. Her vision blurs. For a moment, just a heartbeat, she sees the clearing as it must have been centuries ago. The stones pristine. Figures in flowing robes standing in a circle. And at the center, a girl with silver flames dancing between her fingers. The vision shatters as rough hands grab her arms. "Thought you could run all night?" The guard's breath is hot against her ear, reeking of ale and malice. "You're coming with us, little curse thing." Something inside her snaps. It's not a conscious decision. It's instinct, survival, the part of her that's been screaming for 3 years finally breaking through every layer of conditioning and fear and enforced meekness. Heat explodes from her core, racing through her veins like molten silver. The guard touching her shouts in shock and pain, stumbling backward, staring at his palms where angry red welts are already forming. Kaya stares at her own hands, horrified and fascinated in equal measure. They're glowing. Faintly, barely visible, but definitely glowing with a soft silver light that shouldn't exist. "She's a witch," someone screams. "The Omega's a witch."
No.
Not a witch. Something else. Something the healers never named, because they were too afraid. Something connected to the mark on her shoulder, to the night her family died, to the way her grief had felt like it would consume the entire world. The guards are backing away now, their bravado evaporating in the face of the impossible. But Kaya knows this won't save her. If anything, she's just confirmed every suspicion, justified every cruelty. They'll kill her now. Not drag her to judgment. Just kill her here in this forgotten clearing and tell the Alpha King she was too dangerous to bring in alive. She has to run. Again. Always running. But her legs won't move. The burst of power, or whatever that was, has left her emptied, hollowed out. She sways on her feet, the silver glow already fading from her hands, her vision darkening at the edges. She's going to collapse. She's going to fall right here at the base of this ancient altar, and they're going to kill her, and maybe that's what she deserves for being the girl who lived when everyone else died. Don't touch her. The voice cuts through the storm like a blade through silk, quiet, but so absolutely commanding that every person in the clearing freezes instantly. It's not loud. It doesn't need to be. There's something in the tone, in the underlying rumble of barely contained power, that makes defiance feel like suicide. Kaya's head snaps up, her eyes searching the darkness beyond the ring of trees. A figure emerges from the shadows, and the storm itself seems to hold its breath. He's tall, impossibly tall, with broad shoulders that carry the weight of authority like it's nothing. His hair is dark, nearly black, falling just past his collar in waves that glisten with rain. But it's his eyes that make her heart stop. Even in the dim light, even through the haze of exhaustion and fear, she can see them.
Gold.
Pure, burning gold, the eyes of a wolf in human skin. The Alpha King. She's never seen him up close before.
Few have.
He keeps to the high tower, conducting his business through intermediaries and advisors, appearing only for formal ceremonies where he sits on his throne like a statue carved from ice and cruelty. But she's heard the stories. Everyone has. The king whose wolf rejected every potential mate presented to him. The ruler feared more than loved, whose justice is swift and absolute, whose power is matched only by his isolation. He walks toward the clearing with measured steps, and she realizes the guards have dropped to one knee, their heads bowed. Even in their fear, even in this moment, protocol demands submission. He doesn't acknowledge them. His eyes, those burning gold eyes, are fixed entirely on her. Kaya wants to look away. Should look away. Omegas don't meet an alpha's gaze directly, especially not the Alpha King. But she can't. There's something in his expression, something beyond the cold mask he wears. It's not kindness, exactly. More like recognition. As if he's seeing something in her that no one else has ever bothered to look for. He stops 3 feet away, close enough that she can see the rain tracking down the sharp angles of his face, the tightness around his mouth that speaks of control exercised every single moment. Your name. It's not a question. It's a command, but delivered in that same quiet voice that somehow fills the entire space. Her throat is so dry she can barely form words. Kaya. Something flickers in his eyes. Pain?
Surprise?
It's gone too quickly to identify. The guards will return to their posts, he says, still looking at her. This matter is now under my personal jurisdiction. Your Majesty, one of the guards stammers, she's dangerous. She. Are you questioning my judgment? The temperature drops 10 degrees. The guard's face goes white. No, Your Majesty. Forgive me.
Leave.
Now. They scramble to their feet and flee like the storm itself is chasing them. Within seconds, the clearing is empty except for the two of them, the broken Omega and the king who's supposed to have no heart. Kaya's legs finally give out. She doesn't hit the ground. He moves faster than should be possible, catching her before she falls, his arms surprisingly gentle as they steady her. The moment his skin touches hers, that heat flares again in her chest, but different this time. Not burning, more like coming home, like touching something she's been searching for her entire life without knowing it existed. His sharp intake of breath tells her he feels it too. Impossible, he murmurs, and there's something raw in his voice now, the careful control cracking just slightly. All these years. She doesn't understand.
Can't understand.
Her mind is shutting down, overwhelmed by too much. The chase, the power, the guards, and now this. Him. The way he's looking at her like she's both a miracle and a curse. I'm sorry, she whispers, though she's not sure what she's apologizing for. Existing, maybe. Being found. Glowing. All of it. Don't. His hand comes up, and she flinches instinctively. But he doesn't strike her. His fingers, careful, hesitant, brush a strand of wet hair back from her face with a gentleness that makes her want to cry. Don't apologize. Not to me. Not to anyone. The kindness in the gesture breaks something inside her. Tears mix with rain on her cheeks. I don't understand what's happening, she admits. I don't understand what I am. His jaw tightens. Neither do I. But I'm going to find out. He shifts his grip, carefully lifting her into his arms as if she weighs nothing. As if she's not a cursed thing to be feared and avoided. And until I do, you stay with me. No more running. No more hiding. No more guards hunting you through storms because they're bored and cruel and think they can. She should protest. Should remind him that she's just an Omega, that whatever he thinks he felt was probably a mistake, that bringing her closer will only bring him trouble. But exhaustion has stolen her voice, and the steady rhythm of his heartbeat against her ear is the first peaceful sound she's heard in 3 years.
Why?
The question escapes before she can stop it. Why are you helping me? He's quiet for a long moment, carrying her back toward the palace through paths that seem to open before him, the storm finally beginning to ease. When he finally speaks, his voice is barely audible over the fading rain. Because my wolf knows you. And he has never known anyone. Want to know what happens when a cursed king finally finds the one his wolf claims? Subscribe to Shayla's Romance Library, because some stories don't just entertain. They consume you. The palace interior is nothing like she imagined. Not that she'd ever dared to imagine it. Really, the forbidden territory of the royal wing was as distant to someone like her as the moon itself. But she'd pictured cold marble and hostile grandeur, spaces designed to remind you of your insignificance. Instead, the halls he carries her through are warm, lit by flames that dance in iron sconces, the walls lined with tapestries that tell stories in thread and color. Stories of wolves running under full moons, of battles and bonds, of a time when shifters lived without the fear that permeates everything now. He doesn't take her to the dungeons, doesn't hand her off to servants or guards. He carries her himself, his steps steady and sure, through corridors that grow quieter and more private until they reach a heavy wooden door carved with protective runes. His chambers. She should panic, should protest. An Omega alone with the Alpha King in his private rooms. There are 1,000 rules broken just by crossing this threshold, 1,000 rumors that would spread like poison if anyone knew. But she's too exhausted to care about rules that were written to keep people like her small and silent and manageable. The door closes behind them with a soft click that feels impossibly final. The room is enormous but surprisingly sparse. A massive bed with dark furs. A fireplace where flames already crackle, casting shifting shadows across stone walls. Books stacked on every available surface. Not decorative volumes meant to impress, but worn, well-read tomes with cracked spines and pages that speak of actual use. A large window overlooking the kingdom, rain still streaking down the glass. He sets her down carefully on a chair near the fire, then steps back as if her touch burned him. Maybe it did. Maybe he felt the same inexplicable heat that's still racing through her veins, making her hyper-aware of every place their bodies connected. You're shaking, he observes, his voice still controlled, but with an edge of concern that seems to surprise him as much as it does her.
Of course she's shaking.
She's soaked, exhausted, and standing in the Alpha King's bedroom trying to comprehend what's happening. But she just nods, wrapping her arms around herself in a futile attempt to generate warmth. He moves to a carved chest against the wall, pulling out a thick robe of dark wool that's far too large, but looks impossibly warm.
Change.
You'll catch pneumonia in those wet clothes. He holds it out to her, then seems to realize she's frozen in place, uncertain and overwhelmed. Something crosses his face. Understanding, maybe, or recognition of just how far out of her depth she is. I'll turn around, he says quietly. You're safe here, Kaya. Whatever else you believe, believe that. Her name in his mouth sounds different than when anyone else says it. Not like a curse or an accusation. Like something precious. She doesn't understand it. He turns to face the window, his back to her, his posture rigid with a control that seems to require physical effort. She strips quickly, peeling off the clinging dress and undergarments, her fingers clumsy with cold and nerves. The robe swallows her, hanging to her feet, the sleeves extending well past her hands. It smells like him, pine and smoke and something wilder, like storms rolling over mountains. I'm decent, she whispers. He turns back, and something flashes in his eyes when he sees her wrapped in his clothing. His hands clench briefly at his sides before he forces them to relax. Sit closer to the fire. I'll make tea. You. The word escapes before she can stop it. You make tea? The corner of his mouth twitches. Not quite a smile, but close. Shocking, I know. The terrible Alpha King capable of boiling water. There's bitterness in the words, but also something like humor. Dark humor, maybe, but still. It's so unexpected that she almost smiles back before remembering herself. He moves to a small table where a kettle sits ready, and she watches, fascinated despite herself, as the most powerful shifter in the kingdom performs the simple domestic task of making tea. His movements are economical, practiced. This isn't his first time. He does this regularly, alone in these rooms, serving himself because trust is apparently another luxury he can't afford. "How long have you been at the palace?" he asks, his back to her as he works. 3 years. Since she trails off. Since her family died. Since she became the cursed Omega everyone avoided. Since her world ended, and she somehow kept breathing anyway. Since the fire. His voice is flat. Not a question. He knows. Her throat tightens. Yes. You are barely 16. He pours hot water over herbs that fill the room with a soothing scent. Chamomile, lavender, something else she can't identify. They brought you here because you had nowhere else to go, and then proceeded to treat you like a ghost. Something to be feared and ignored in equal measure. How does he know this? She's spent 3 years being invisible by design, and yet he speaks like he's intimately familiar with every detail of her exile. "You've been watching me," she realizes aloud. He brings her the tea, placing it in her hands with care to avoid touching her skin again. "I've been aware of you. That's not the same thing." No, he pulls up another chair, sitting across from her, close enough to talk, far enough to maintain distance. It's not. She wraps her hands around the warm cup, letting the heat seep into her frozen fingers. "Why?" "Because 3 years ago, the night you arrived, my wolf woke up for the first time in a decade." His eyes meet hers, and there's something almost vulnerable in them now, the mask slipping further. He was agitated, searching for something. Someone. "I thought I was losing my mind. And then I heard the servants whispering about the Omega girl from the fire, the one with the strange mark, the one who shouldn't have survived." Her breath catches. "You knew about me this whole time? I knew you existed. I knew where you were housed. I knew," he pauses, seeming to struggle with the admission. "I knew that whenever you were nearby, my wolf became alert in ways he never has before. But I couldn't understand it. You weren't presented to me formally. You weren't among the candidates for mate consideration. You were just there, a presence in the background that my wolf somehow recognized." This doesn't make sense. It can't make sense. The Alpha King's wolf rejecting every suitable mate is legendary. There are countless theories that he's cursed, that his standards are impossible, that he's secretly sworn to celibacy. But never once has anyone suggested his wolf was waiting for someone specific. "I'm nobody," she says, and hates how her voice shakes. "I'm broken. Cursed. Everyone says so." "Everyone," he says carefully, "is wrong. You don't know that. You don't know what happened that night, what I." "Then tell me." The command is gentle but absolute. And somehow, here in this warm room with tea in her hands and the most feared man in the kingdom looking at her like she matters, the story comes out. "My family lived on the borderlands. Small pack. Peaceful. We kept ourselves farmed, raised livestock. Nothing special." Her voice sounds distant to her own ears, like she's reading someone else's tragedy. But there were rumors of something moving through the forest. Something wrong. Animals found torn apart, but not eaten. Trees dead in perfect circles. My father and the pack Alpha went to investigate. She takes a sip of tea, needing the warmth, needing something to do with her hands. They found, I don't know what they found. They never got to tell us. Because that night, fire came from the forest. Not natural fire. Silver fire. It consumed everything. Our homes, the pack house, the fields. People ran, but the fire was alive. It chased. It hunted. Her hands are shaking again, tea sloshing dangerously. He reaches out, steadying the cup without taking it from her. My mother threw me in the root cellar. Told me not to make a sound. I heard her screaming. Heard everyone screaming. And the words catch in her throat. I just hid. Like a coward. I hid while my entire family burned. You were a child, he says, his voice rough. Survival isn't cowardice. When they found me 3 days later, I was still in the cellar. Everyone else was dead. Ash and bones. But I was fine. Not a burn on me. Just this. She reaches back, pulling the robe aside to show him the crescent mark on her shoulder blade. And a power I can't control, that I didn't even know I had until tonight, when those guards terrorized you, and your instinct for survival manifested something you didn't understand. He's leaning forward now, his eyes intense. Kaya, whatever destroyed your pack, it wasn't you. You were a victim, not the cause. How do you know? The question comes out as a whisper. How can you possibly know that? Because I've spent the last 3 years having my best researchers investigate what happened to your pack. Quietly, without drawing attention. He runs a hand through his dark hair, frustration evident. There have been incidents. Over the past decade, small packs on the borders, disappearing or destroyed. The pattern is subtle enough that most dismiss them as isolated tragedies. But there's a pattern, and your pack was part of it. She stares at him, mind reeling. Someone is hunting packs? Why? That's what I've been trying to determine. But there's something specific about the packs that have been targeted. They're all, he hesitates, choosing his words carefully. They all have histories, old bloodlines, connections to the ancient ways, before the kingdom unified under one rule. My pack was just farmers, on the surface. But your great-grandmother was a priestess of the old temple. Did you know that? She didn't. Family history wasn't something they discussed much. The past was the past, and they'd been focused on surviving the present. There's more, he continues. The mark on your shoulder. I've seen it in exactly one place before. In a manuscript so old it's practically dust, kept in the restricted archives. It's a sigil of protection. Ancient magic. The kind that was supposedly lost centuries ago. Her mind spins, trying to process this. You think the mark protected me from the fire? I think the mark appeared because you needed protection. I think whatever power you have, whatever manifested tonight, has been dormant inside you, waiting. His gold eyes burn into hers. And I think someone knows about you, Kaya. Someone who considers you a threat. The teacup slips from her nerveless fingers. He catches it before it can fall, setting it aside, then takes her hands in his. The contact sends that heat racing through her again, but this time he doesn't pull away. This time he holds on, his grip firm and steady. This is why you can't run, he says, his voice dropping to something almost fierce. This is why I need you here, where I can protect you. Whatever you are, whatever power lies dormant in your blood, there are forces that fear it. And fear makes people, and things, desperate and dangerous. I don't want to be protected, she whispers, though it's a lie. She's spent 3 years terrified and alone, desperate for someone to see her as something other than cursed. I want to be normal. I want to disappear. Too late for that. There's something almost like regret in his voice. My wolf claimed you tonight. The moment I touched you, the moment I felt that bond snap into place, everything changed. You can't disappear now.
Not from me.
Not from this. The bond.
He's talking about a mate bond.
The sacred connection between Alpha and Omega that everyone says is the foundation of pack life, the thing that creates stability and strength, the thing his wolf has supposedly rejected for years. I don't understand, she says desperately. Why me?
I'm nobody.
I'm broken. How could your wolf possibly? Because maybe, he interrupts, his thumbs rubbing small circles on the backs of her hands. Broken is exactly what my wolf needed. Maybe he wasn't rejecting all those perfect, polished candidates because he was cursed. Maybe he was waiting for someone who understood what it means to survive when the world burns down around you. Tears spill down her cheeks again. She can't stop them. I'm not strong enough for this, she admits. For whatever you think I am, whatever you think I can be. You survived when everyone else died. You endured 3 years of isolation and cruelty and still managed to keep your humanity. You manifested power tonight when you had every reason to give up. He leans closer, his forehead almost touching hers. You're stronger than you know, Kaya. And whether you believe it or not, I'm going to prove it to you. She wants to believe him, wants to trust the conviction in his voice, the steadiness in his eyes. But trust is a luxury she buried with her family. What happens now? She asks. Now you rest. Tomorrow, we begin unraveling the mystery of who you are and why someone wants you dead. He releases her hands slowly, reluctantly, and we figure out what it means that fate apparently decided the cursed Alpha King and the broken Omega belong together. There's irony in his voice, but also something that might be hope. Fragile and tentative, but there. She should refuse. Should insist on returning to her tiny room, to her familiar isolation. But the thought of leaving this warm space, of losing the first kindness she's experienced in years, is unbearable. I'll stay, she whispers, for tonight. His smile is small but genuine, and it transforms his face entirely. For a moment, he doesn't look like the terrible Alpha King. He looks like a man who's been alone too long and has finally found something worth protecting. For tonight, he agrees. Though they both know it's a lie. There's no going back from this. Whatever began in that rain-soaked clearing has set events in motion that neither of them can stop. He gestures to the massive bed. Sleep. I'll take the chair. This is your room. And you're he stops, the word hanging unspoken.
Mate.
You're under my protection. Which means you get the bed. She's too exhausted to argue. Her body is screaming for rest, for safety, for the oblivion of sleep. She crawls under the furs, and they're impossibly soft, impossibly warm. She sinks into them, her eyes already closing. The last thing she sees before sleep takes her is him settling into the chair by the fire, his posture alert, watchful, standing guard over her like she's something precious, like she's something worth keeping alive. The dreams come like they always do, uninvited, relentless, soaked in smoke and screaming. Kaya is running through her childhood home, but the walls are melting, dripping like candle wax, revealing darkness underneath. Her mother's voice calls from somewhere in the flames, desperate and fading. Kaya, baby, stay down. Don't let them see you. Don't let them know what you are. What you are. The words echo, multiply, become a chorus of accusations. Her father's voice joins in. We tried to hide it, tried to keep you safe. Then her younger brother, barely 8 when he died. Why did you get to live? Why just you? She wants to answer, wants to scream that she doesn't know, that it wasn't fair, that she would trade places with any of them in a heartbeat. But her voice is gone, stolen by the silver flames that dance along the ceiling, reaching for her with fingers that almost look alive. And then she sees herself, 10 years old, standing in the ceremonial circle behind her great-grandmother's house, the house that was forbidden, that smelled like herbs and secrets. The old woman's hands are on her shoulders, her voice low and urgent as she draws symbols on Kaya's skin with something that glows faintly in the twilight. Your blood remembers what your mind has forgotten, her great-grandmother whispers. When the time comes, when everything falls apart, this will be your shield. But it comes with a price, little one. Power always does. What price? Young Kaya asks. Loneliness.
Fear.
The weight of being different in a world that destroys what it doesn't understand. The old woman's eyes are sad, ancient. You'll want to be normal more than you want to breathe. But normal was never your destiny. The memory, because it is a memory, not just a dream, shifts. She's 13 now, and her body is changing in ways that terrify her. She wakes up one morning with silver light dancing across her fingertips and she screams. Her mother comes running, sees the light, and her face goes pale. No, her mother breathes. Not yet. You're too young. It's too soon. What's happening to me?
Kaya sobs.
Her mother pulls her close, but there's fear in the embrace now, tension that wasn't there before. You're becoming what you were always meant to be. But we need time. Your father and I, we need time to prepare, to find the people who can teach you to control it. But time ran out. 3 months later, the silver fire came. The dream fractures, and suddenly she's in the root cellar again, pressed against the damp earth, her hand clamped over her mouth to stifle her sobs. Above her, the world is ending. She can hear the fire crackling, can smell burning flesh and hair, and the acrid stench of something unnatural. And underneath it all, there are voices. Not the voices of her pack. Other voices.
Cold. Precise.
Find the girl. The priestess said there was a girl. The whole pack is dead. She must have burned with them. Check again. The bloodline can't end here. If she survived. An explosion of sound, something collapsing. Then silence. Terrible, absolute silence. Kaya stays in the cellar for 3 days. Not because she's brave enough to wait for rescue. Because she's too terrified to move. She drinks from the water barrel kept for emergencies. She doesn't eat. Can't eat. Her stomach rejecting everything. And she stares at her hands, at the faint silver glow that keeps appearing and disappearing, marking her as something other. Something wrong. When they finally find her, pack enforcers from the main kingdom, responding to reports of smoke, she's barely conscious. Dehydrated, traumatized, covered in dirt and dried tears. They wrap her in a blanket and someone says, "Poor thing.
Sole survivor.
Must be cursed." The word sticks.
Cursed.
It follows her through the medical examinations, through the weeks in the healing ward, through the decision to house her at the palace because she has no living relatives willing to claim her. Cursed. The girl touched by death. The Omega who lived when everyone else burned. No one asks why she lived. No one wants to know. Because knowing would require acknowledging that she might be something more than a tragic victim. And that possibility terrifies them more than her grief ever could. The dream shifts again, and she's in the palace now, those early days when she still thought someone might see her as human. She's in the servants' dining hall, trying to eat, when a group of other Omegas sit down nearby. "That's her," one whispers, not quietly enough. "The cursed one. I heard her whole pack died because she did something forbidden. Dark magic. My cousin said she's got a mark. Like a brand. Proof she's touched by evil. We should stay away from her. That kind of curse spreads." Kaya sets down her fork, her appetite gone. She wants to defend herself, to tell them they're wrong, that she's just a girl who lost everything. But the words won't come. Because part of her believes them. Part of her looks at her survival and sees something unnatural, something that deserves punishment. So she stays silent, accepts the isolation, shrinks herself down until she's barely taking up space, barely breathing, barely existing. If she's quiet enough, small enough, maybe the curse will forget about her too. Months pass. Then years. The servants learn to work around her like she's furniture. The guards learn she's easy prey when they're bored, too weak to fight back, too afraid to report them. The few times she tries to make a friend, something always happens.
Un strange accident.
A sudden illness. And people remember that she's cursed, that getting close to her brings misfortune. So she stops trying. She spends her nights reading in the servants' library. Old books no one wants, their pages yellow and brittle. History. Legends. Stories about the time before the unified kingdom, when shifters lived in smaller packs and magic was as common as breathing. She reads about priestesses who could call storms, about wolves who bonded with elemental forces, about bloodlines carrying gifts that were both blessing and burden. And she wonders if maybe her great-grandmother's blood runs stronger in her than anyone realized. If maybe the silver light in her hands isn't corruption but legacy. But wondering doesn't change anything. She's still alone. Still broken. Still the girl everyone fears. Until tonight. Until the Alpha King looked at her like she was something other than cursed. The dream shifts one final time, and she's standing in a temple she's never seen but somehow recognizes. The walls are carved with the same symbols that cover the altar in the clearing. At the center of the room stands a woman who looks like her, same dark hair, same slight build, but older, more regal, with silver flames dancing harmlessly along her arms. "You can't hide from what you are forever," the woman says, and her voice resonates like bells. The blood remembers. The power remembers. And soon, the world will remember too. "I don't want this," Kaya whispers. "Want has nothing to do with destiny." The woman smiles, sad and knowing. "But perhaps this time, you won't have to carry it alone." The woman's form begins to fade, dissolving into silver light that spirals upward and outward, filling the entire temple. As it touches Kaya, she feels warmth instead of burning, safety instead of fear. For just a moment, she understands what it might feel like to embrace the power instead of fighting it, to stop being afraid of herself. She wakes with a gasp, her heart pounding, sweat cooling on her skin despite the warmth of the furs. For a disorienting moment, she doesn't know where she is. The bed is too soft, the room too large, the scent all wrong, and panic claws at her throat. Then she remembers. The palace. The king's chambers. The impossible claim that his wolf recognized her. Gray dawn light filters through the windows. The storm has passed, leaving the world washed clean and quiet. She sits up slowly, expecting to find the room empty, half convinced the entire night was another dream. But he's still there, asleep in the chair by the now-dead fire, his body angled in a way that suggests he never intended to sleep at all. That exhaustion simply claimed him despite his best efforts. His face is softer in sleep, the harsh lines of authority and control smoothed away. He looks younger, more vulnerable, like someone who carries weight he never asked for. She should wake him, tell him to use his own bed. But she finds herself just watching him instead, trying to reconcile this man with the stories she's heard. The cruel Alpha King, the ruler without mercy, the shifter cursed to walk alone. None of those stories mention the gentleness in his hands when he caught her, the careful way he made tea, the conviction in his voice when he promised to protect her. As if sensing her gaze, his eyes open, gold immediately finding hers across the room, alert in an instant despite having just woken. It's the reflex of someone who's learned to never let his guard down completely. "You're awake," he says, his voice rough with sleep. "Did you rest?" She should say yes, should offer some polite reassurance. But something about the way he asks, like he genuinely cares about the answer, makes her honest. "I dreamed," she says quietly, "about the fire, about my great-grandmother, about—" She trails off, unsure how to explain the temple, the woman made of silver light, the feeling of recognition. He sits forward, immediately focused. "Tell me about your great-grandmother." So she does. Haltingly at first, then with growing confidence as he listens without interruption, without judgment. She tells him about the forbidden house behind the main settlement, about the whispers that the old woman practiced the old ways, about the ceremony she barely remembers where symbols were drawn on her skin. "She died 2 years before the fire," Kaya finishes. "My mother said it was peaceful, natural. But she also said we didn't talk about great-grandmother's practices, that some things were better left in the past." "Your mother was trying to protect you," he says thoughtfully. "If the old bloodlines are being targeted, admitting your connection to that power would have painted a target on your entire pack. But they found us anyway." Her voice is hollow. "Whatever I am, whatever power I carry, it didn't save anyone. It just made me survive when I should have died with them." He stands, crossing the room to sit on the edge of the bed, close but not touching. Or perhaps your survival was the point. Perhaps the power protected the one person it could, knowing that you'd be needed later. Needed for what? That, he admits, I don't know yet. But I intend to find out. He pauses, considering her. "The dream you had, the temple, the woman. Can you draw what you saw?" "I think so." "Why?" "Because the restricted archives have maps of old temple sites, sacred places where the ancient priestesses performed their rituals. If what you saw matches one of those places, we might find answers." He stands, moving to a desk and returning with paper and charcoal.
Draw.
Everything you remember. Her hands are clumsy at first, unsure. But as she sketches, the details come flooding back. The specific shape of the carved symbols, the arrangement of pillars, the raised platform at the center. The woman's face, so like her own, but different in ways she can't quite articulate. He watches over her shoulder, his presence warm and solid, occasionally asking questions that help her clarify details. It should feel intrusive having him so close while she works. Instead, it feels right, like having a partner instead of a judge. When she finishes, he takes the paper, studying it with intense concentration. Something shifts in his expression, recognition, perhaps, or concern. What? She asks. Do you know this place? If I'm right about the symbols, he moves to his bookshelf, pulling down a leather-bound volume that looks ancient. He pages through it quickly, then stops, holding the book next to her drawing. Here. The illustration in the book matches her sketch almost exactly. The same arrangement of pillars and symbols. The same raised platform. The caption beneath reads, Temple of the Silver Flame. Sacred site of the luminal priestesses. Location lost, circa 800 years ago. Luminal priestesses. Kaya reads aloud. What does that mean? Luminal refers to the threshold between worlds. Between physical and spiritual, between mortal and divine. His voice is carefully controlled, but she can hear the excitement underneath. The priestesses of this order were said to channel power directly from the source of all shifter magic. They could heal, destroy, protect, and prophesy. They were the spiritual leaders of our people, before the kingdom unified and the old ways were discouraged. Discouraged, she repeats. You mean forbidden? The first Alpha King believed centralized power was necessary for survival. That meant eliminating competition, including spiritual authorities who might challenge his rule. He closes the book. The Luminal Order, supposedly disbanded. Their temples were abandoned, their practices forbidden. Within a few generations, they were just stories. But my great-grandmother was apparently keeping the traditions alive in secret, along with who knows how many others scattered across the border territories. He looks at her intently. Kaya, if your bloodline traces back to the luminal priestesses, if you carry their power, you're not just rare. You're potentially one of the last living connections to the old magic. The real magic, not the diluted gifts most shifters have now. The weight of his words settles over her like a physical thing. And someone knows this. Someone knows or suspects or fears. Enough to systematically destroy pacts with old bloodlines. Enough to try to ensure that ancient power stays buried. His jaw tightens. Which means bringing you here, keeping you close, has put you in more danger than leaving you in the shadows. Then maybe I should leave. Disappear for real this time. Go somewhere they won't look. No, the word is absolute, allowing no argument. Running won't save you. They found your pack in the middle of nowhere. They'll find you wherever you go. The only thing that changes if you run is that you'll face them alone. And here? What's different here? His eyes burn into hers. Here, you have me. Here, you have the full power of the kingdom between you and whatever hunts you. Here, you have a chance to learn what you are and how to defend yourself. He reaches out, his hand hovering near her face before gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. And here, my wolf finally stops searching for something he couldn't name. Which means here is where you belong. The mate bond. He's talking about it again, this impossible connection between the cursed king and the broken Omega. A bond that shouldn't exist but apparently does, tying them together in ways neither of them fully understands. I don't know how to be what you need, she whispers. I don't know how to be a mate, or a priestess, or whatever destiny thinks I should be. I only know how to survive. Then we start there. His thumb brushes her cheek, the touch sending electricity through her. We start with survival, and build everything else from that foundation. Together. Together. The word feels foreign, impossible. She's been alone for so long that the concept of partnership, of someone choosing to stand beside her instead of behind her or against her, doesn't compute. But looking into his eyes, seeing the determination there, the absolute certainty, something in her chest loosens just slightly. The tight, defensive ball she's kept herself wound into for 3 years cracks just enough to let a sliver of hope through. Maybe she doesn't have to do this alone. Maybe being broken isn't the same as being destroyed. Maybe survival can be the beginning instead of the end. Together, she echoes, testing the word. It feels fragile but real. He smiles, a genuine smile this time, not the careful mask he wears for the world. Together. Now, let's get you proper clothes and food. Then we have work to do. What kind of work? The kind that involves ancient archives, protective wards, and teaching you to defend yourself. He stands, offering her his hand. If you're going to be the last luminal priestess, we need to make sure you survive long enough to figure out what that means. She takes his hand, letting him pull her to her feet. The silver mark on her shoulder blade tingles, warm but not painful, almost like approval or recognition. As if the power in her blood finally senses that she stopped running from it and started, however tentatively, to turn around and face what she is. A knock at the door interrupts the moment. The king's expression shifts instantly back to the controlled mask, authority sliding over him like armor. Enter, he calls. A servant steps in, an older woman with graying hair and kind eyes that widen when she sees Caius standing there in the king's robe. But to her credit, she doesn't comment, just bows her head respectfully. Your Majesty, the council is gathering. They've heard about the incident in the courtyard last night and are demanding an audience. His jaw tightens. Of course they are. Tell them I'll be there within the hour. The woman nods and retreats, closing the door softly behind her. The council, Caius says quietly. They'll want to know about me. They can want whatever they like. What they get is the information I choose to give them. He moves to his wardrobe, pulling out fresh clothes. But you're right. We need to be strategic. The council is made up of the most powerful alphas from the major territories. They're allies, but they're also politicians. Some of them would love an excuse to weaken my position. And claiming an omega no one's heard of as your mate gives them that excuse. Claiming you as my mate, he corrects, gives them proof that I'm not cursed, that the bloodline will continue. But yes, they'll question it. Question you. We need to control the narrative before rumors do it for us. He pauses, studying her. I need to ask you something, and you need to answer honestly. Are you willing to stand beside me publicly? To be introduced as my chosen mate? Because once we do that, there's no taking it back. The target on your back gets bigger, not smaller. Every enemy I have becomes your enemy too. It's a genuine question, not a command. He's giving her a choice, even though they both know what's at stake. She thinks about the alternative, hiding, running, spending her life looking over her shoulder while whoever hunts the old bloodlines gets closer. She thinks about the dreams, about her great-grandmother's legacy, about the power in her blood that she spent 3 years suppressing. She thinks about the way his wolf recognized her when no one else ever did. I'm willing, she says, and means it. I'm tired of hiding. If they're going to come for me anyway, I'd rather face them standing beside someone who believes I'm worth defending. Something fierce and possessive flashes in his eyes. Good. Because I fully intend to make it very clear that harming you means declaring war on the throne itself. He moves to a second wardrobe and pulls out clothing clearly meant for someone smaller. Women's garments, simple but well-made. These belong to my sister, he says quietly. She died 5 years ago. I've kept her things because, I don't know.
Sentiment, maybe.
But she was about your size. You're welcome to anything that fits. I'm sorry, Caius says, meaning it. About your sister. So am I. His voice is tight with old grief. She would have liked you, I think. She always had a soft spot for people the world tried to break. He gives her privacy to dress, turning back to the window while she pulls on soft leather pants, a simple tunic, and boots that fit surprisingly well. When she's done, She catches a glimpse of herself in the mirror across the room and barely recognizes the girl looking back. She doesn't look cursed anymore. She looks almost normal. Almost like someone who could stand beside a king. Almost. "Ready?" he asks, turning back. She nods, even though she's not. Even though terror is crawling up her spine at the thought of facing the council, of being examined and judged by the most powerful shifters in the kingdom. But he crosses to her, taking her face gently in his hands.
Breathe.
You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. And that, I'm learning, is more than enough. His lips brush her forehead, a chaste kiss, but it sends warmth flooding through her entire body. The mate bond, she realizes, getting stronger with every touch, every moment they spend together. It should terrify her. Instead, it feels like coming home. Together, he reminds her. Together, she agrees. And together, they walk out of his chambers to face the council, the kingdom, and whatever forces want to see them both destroyed. But for the first time in 3 years, Kaya isn't facing the world alone. And maybe, just maybe, that makes all the difference. The council chamber is exactly as oppressive as she imagined, a circular room carved from dark stone, with a domed ceiling painted with constellations that seem to shift when she's not looking directly at them. 12 chairs arranged in a perfect circle, each one occupied by an alpha whose power fills the space like barely contained thunder. And at the head, slightly elevated, the throne where the king sits with the kind of stillness that speaks of absolute control. She stands beside him, and every eye in the room tracks her like predators assessing prey. The king, she realizes she still doesn't know his actual name, has only ever heard him called by his title, doesn't touch her, but his presence is a shield nonetheless. When he speaks, his voice carries the weight of absolute authority. I've called you here to inform you of a significant development. Not to ask permission, but to ensure the transition is smooth and the message unified. His gold eyes sweep the circle. I have claimed my mate. Her name is Kaya, and she is under the full protection of the throne. Any threat to her is a threat to me, and will be treated as such. The silence that follows is sharp enough to cut. Then, one of the alphas, a broad-shouldered man with silver threading through his dark hair, leans forward. Your Majesty, with all due respect, this is unexpected. We were given no notice of courtship rituals, no opportunity to verify lineage or pack standing. The Omega appears to have materialized from nowhere. She didn't materialize, the king says coldly. She's been at this palace for 3 years. Your failure to notice her says more about your observational skills than her legitimacy. Another alpha, younger with sharp features and calculating eyes, speaks up. We've heard rumors, Your Majesty, that this Omega is the survivor of the Border Pack massacre 3 years ago, that she's cursed. The word hangs in the air like poison. Kaya feels her hands starting to shake and forces them still. She will not show weakness here, will not give them the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. Cursed, the king repeats, his tone dangerous. An interesting word for someone who survived a systematic slaughter. Tell me, Alpha Darius, if your entire pack was destroyed and you alone lived, would you consider yourself cursed? Or would you consider yourself a survivor? Darius has the grace to look uncomfortable. I meant no disrespect, Your Majesty. But the circumstances were unusual, and there are concerns about introducing unknown elements into the royal bloodline. Unknown elements. The king's voice could freeze fire. She carries the blood of the luminal priestesses. Her great-grandmother was a keeper of the old ways. Her survival wasn't curse. It was power protecting its vessel until the right time. The room erupts. The luminal order is extinct. If she carries that bloodline, she's a threat to the unified kingdom. The old powers were forbidden for a reason. Enough. The king doesn't shout, but his voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. Silence falls instantly. The old powers were suppressed because my ancestor feared competition, not because they were inherently dangerous. And perhaps if we hadn't spent 8 centuries trying to bury our own history, we'd understand why packs with old bloodlines are being systematically destroyed. That gets their attention. The alphas exchange glances, confusion and concern warring on their faces. What do you mean, systematically destroyed? Asks an older female alpha, her gray eyes sharp. Over the past decade, 7 packs with documented connections to the old priesthoods have been wiped out. Small packs, border territories, places where the attacks could be dismissed as isolated incidents. He produces a map, unrolling it across the table. Red marks the outer territories. But there's a pattern. Each pack had ties to the ancient ways. Each attack involved unnatural fire. And in each case, any survivors were either silenced or disappeared within weeks. Kaya's blood runs cold. Others survived, and they disappeared. Kaya's pack was the 6th, the king continues. She survived because her great-grandmother's magic protected her. And she's been here, under our noses, while whoever orchestrated these attacks has continued their work. He taps the map. 3 weeks ago, another border pack was destroyed. Same pattern. No survivors this time. You're suggesting a conspiracy, Darius says slowly. Someone hunting the old bloodlines. I'm not suggesting. I'm stating fact based on 3 years of investigation. The king's eyes are hard. Someone wants the ancient powers erased, and they're willing to commit genocide to do it. But why? The female alpha leans forward. What threat could ancient priestesses possibly pose now? That, the king admits, is what we need to determine. But I suspect it has something to do with this. He produces Kaya's drawing of the temple, laying it beside the map. Kaya dreamed of this place last night. The Temple of the Silver Flame, sacred site of the luminal priestesses. A location that's been lost for 800 years. The alphas stare at the drawing, varying degrees of recognition and fear crossing their faces. Dreams don't mean anything, one of them mutters. Dreams sent by ancestral magic mean everything, counters the female alpha. She looks at Kaya directly for the first time, her gaze assessing but not unkind. Can you describe what you saw, girl? Was it just the temple, or was there more? Kaya swallows hard, finding her voice. There was a woman. She looked like me, but older. She had silver flames on her arms, but they weren't burning her. She said, her voice wavers. She said the blood remembers. That I can't hide from what I am forever. Ancestral communication. The female alpha breathes. By the old gods, the girl's being called. Called. Kaya asks. It's what happened when the priestesses came into their power, she explains. The ancestors would reach across death to guide them, to teach them what they needed to know. It hasn't happened in centuries, because there haven't been any priestesses left to call. She looks at the king. If she's being called, Your Majesty, then her power is real and significant. Which makes her a target, Darius says grimly. Not an asset, a vulnerability. Whoever's hunting the bloodlines will come for her with everything they have once they realize she's here. Let them come, the king says, his voice like iron. Let them try to touch her under my protection and see what happens. Your Majesty, one of the younger alpha starts. I am not asking for your approval, the king interrupts. I am informing you of reality. Kaya is my mate. She carries power this kingdom needs, whether you're ready to admit it or not. And I will defend her with every resource at my disposal. The only question is whether you stand with me or obstruct me. Choose carefully. The thread is clear. This isn't a negotiation. It's a line being drawn. The alphas exchange glances, silent communication passing between them. Finally, the female alpha stands, placing her hand over her heart in the traditional gesture of fealty. House Silverbrook stands with the throne, she says formally, and welcomes the king's mate. One by one, the others rise and echo the gesture. Some more reluctantly than others, but all ultimately submitting. Because challenging the king directly would mean civil war, and none of them are quite ready for that. When the formalities are complete and the alphas file out, only the female alpha remains. She approaches Kaya directly, studying her with eyes that seem to see too much. You have questions, she says. It's not a question. Many, Kaya admits. I am Alpha Talia of House Silverbrook. My grandmother was a friend of your great-grandmother's before the old ways fell completely out of favor. She glances at the king. With your majesty's permission, I'd like to speak with your mate privately. There are things she needs to know that are better discussed without an audience. The king looks at Kaya, clearly leaving the choice to her. She nods slightly. I'll be in the archives, he says. Researching the temple location. Find me when you're finished. He leaves, and Kaya is alone with this woman who somehow knew her great-grandmother, who speaks of the old ways like they're real and not just stories. Come, Talia says. Let's walk. These walls have too many ears. She leads Kaya through corridors and out into the palace gardens, where morning sun breaks through the last remnants of cloud cover. The storm has left everything fresh and clean, the air sharp with a scent of wet earth and growing things. Your great-grandmother's name was Lenara. Talia begins as they walk. Did you know that?
No.
We never spoke of her much. Because speaking of her meant admitting what your family was trying to hide, that you came from a direct line of priestesses stretching back to the founding of the luminal order. Talia's voice is matter-of-fact. Lenara was gifted. Powerful. She could have led the order, had there still been an order to lead. Instead, she went into hiding, married a farmer, and tried to live a normal life. Why? Because she saw what was coming. The systematic suppression of the old ways, the fear and persecution of anyone who practiced ancient magic. She thought if she disappeared, if she made herself invisible, her family would be safe. Talia's expression is sad. She was wrong, of course. They found her anyway, shortly before she died. Demanded she reveal the location of the sacred sites, the remaining artifacts of power. She refused. And they killed her? They tried. But Lenara was a master of protection magic. She managed to drive them off, but the effort cost her. She died 3 days later, but not before performing one final ritual. Talia stops walking, turning to face Kaya fully. She transferred her power to her bloodline, specifically to the youngest female child who would be born after her death. Understanding crashes over Kaya like a wave. Me.
You.
Your mother would have felt it when you were born, a surge of magic, a blessing, and a burden. She and your father did everything they could to hide it, to keep you safe. They moved to the most remote territory they could find, lived as simply as possible, hoped that anonymity would protect you. But it didn't.
No.
Because whoever hunts the bloodlines is thorough. They have ways of tracking power, even when it's dormant. They found your pack, and they destroyed it. Talia's hand lands on Kaya's shoulder, warm and steady. But your great-grandmother's protection held. The mark on your shoulder. May I see it? Hesitantly, Kaya turns and pulls down the collar of her tunic, exposing the silver crescent. Talia inhales sharply. By the old gods. It's a full luminal seal. I've only seen drawings in ancient texts. Her fingers hover over the mark but don't touch. This isn't just protection, child. This is inheritance. Every priestess who came before you, their knowledge, their power, it's locked in your blood, waiting to be awakened. How do I awaken it? That's the complicated part. Traditionally, young priestesses were trained from childhood by their elders, carefully taught to access and control their gifts. You've had none of that. Your power has been suppressed for so long it's like a dam ready to burst. Talia meets her eyes. The dream you had, the vision of the temple, that was the first crack in the dam. Your ancestors reaching through to tell you it's time. Time for what? To claim your inheritance. To stand as what you were born to be. Talia starts walking again, leading Kaya deeper into the gardens toward a section that's clearly ancient, the paths overgrown with vines and the statues weathered beyond recognition. But there's something you need to understand. The luminal priestesses weren't just spiritual leaders. They were guardians. Guardians of what? The balance between shifters and the source of our magic. Our kind didn't just evolve naturally. We were changed, transformed by exposure to a wellspring of ancient power deep in the earth. For thousands of years, the priestesses maintained a connection to that wellspring, ensuring the power flowed correctly, wasn't corrupted or misused. She stops at a crumbling fountain, running her hand over symbols carved into its base. When the order was disbanded, that guardianship ended. And slowly, over centuries, the connection has been fraying. Kaya's mind races. You're saying shifters are losing their power?
Not losing exactly.
But weakening. Diluting. Fewer cubs are born with their wolves intact. More shifters find their transformations painful or incomplete. The mate bonds that used to be sacred and certain now often fail or never form at all. Talia looks at her meaningfully, like the king's wolf, rejecting every potential mate for years. Not because he was cursed, but because the mate bond itself was damaged, weakened by the severed connection to the wellspring. But his wolf recognized me. Because you carry the old power. Your presence, your very existence, is like a drop of water on parched ground. His wolf sensed what he is, what all shifters are supposed to be connected to. Talia's smile is gentle, but weighted with knowledge. You didn't just capture his wolf's heart, child. You reminded it what a true bond feels like. The implications are staggering. If what Talia is saying is true, then Kaya isn't just some random survivor. She's a key to restoring something that's been broken for centuries. The people hunting the bloodlines, Kaya says slowly, they know this. They're trying to prevent the connection from being restored. That's my theory, yes. Though I don't know who they are, or why they'd want shifters to remain weakened. Talia's expression darkens. But I do know this, if you can find the Temple of the Silver Flame, if you can access the wellspring, you might be able to restore the balance. Become what your great-grandmother and all the priestesses before her were meant to be. A guardian, a healer, a bridge between past and present. Talia squeezes her shoulder. But it won't be easy. The path to the temple is guarded, both by physical barriers and magical ones. And whatever force is hunting you will do everything in their power to stop you from reaching it. Then I need to learn to defend myself, to use this power instead of fearing it.
Yes.
And fortunately, you have resources now. The king's protection, my knowledge of the old ways, and whatever instincts your bloodline gives you. Talia produces a small leather pouch from her belt. This is silverleaf, an herb used in luminal rituals. Brew it as tea and drink it before you sleep. It will help you receive the ancestral dreams more clearly, learn from them. Kaya takes the pouch, feeling the dried leaves inside. Thank you for telling me all this, for not treating me like I'm cursed. You were never cursed, child.
Just lost.
But I think you're starting to find your way. Talia's smile is warm. Now go find your mate. He'll be drowning in dusty books by now, and someone needs to remind him to eat. Your mate. The words still feel surreal, but less impossible than they did yesterday. Kaya makes her way back through the palace, following directions from servants who now look at her with curiosity instead of fear. News travels fast, apparently. The king claimed a mate. The cursed Omega has a name. She finds him exactly where Talia predicted. In the archives, surrounded by open books and unrolled maps, his hair disheveled from running his hands through it, his expression focused with an intensity that makes her chest tighten. He looks up when she enters, and his face softens. There you are. I was beginning to worry Talia had kidnapped you, just educated me. She crosses to the table, looking at the research spread before him. Any luck? Possibly. I've cross-referenced geographical descriptions from various texts with current maps. If I'm reading this correctly, the temple should be approximately here. He points to a location in the Eastern Mountains, deep in territory that's currently considered wild and uninhabited.
3 days' journey.
Maybe 4, depending on conditions. You want to go there? To the temple. We need to go there. If it's where your power can be fully awakened, where you can learn to defend yourself and understand your gifts, then yes. He looks at her intently. But I won't force you. This is your choice, Kaya. Your destiny. She studies the map, the marked location deep in unknown territory. Every instinct says this is dangerous, potentially fatal. But staying here, waiting for the enemy to come to them, feels like slow suicide. And she's tired of just surviving. Tired of being afraid. When do we leave? She asks. His smile is fierce and proud. Tomorrow at dawn. I'll arrange a small party. Just us and a few trusted guards. The fewer people who know where we're going, the better. The council won't like you leaving. The council can handle themselves for a week. They managed before I was born. They'll manage now. He straightens, rolling up the maps. Besides, this is too important to delay. If your dreams are intensifying, if your power is starting to wake, we need to get ahead of it before something triggers a full manifestation in an uncontrolled environment. You mean before I accidentally burn down the palace? I mean before you hurt yourself trying to suppress something that's meant to be expressed. His hand finds hers, fingers interlacing. I've watched you these past hours, Kaya. The way you hold yourself so carefully, like you're afraid of taking up space. The way you flinch when people look at you too long. You've spent 3 years making yourself small, and it's killing you slowly. Tears prick her eyes because he's right. She's been dying by inches, suffocating under the weight of trying to be invisible. At the temple, he continues, you can stop hiding. You can be as big and bright and powerful as you were meant to be. And I will stand beside you every step of the way. She doesn't trust her voice, so she just nods, squeezing his hand. They spend the rest of the day preparing. He arranges supplies while she meets with Talia again, learning basic meditation techniques to help control the power when it surges. It's rudimentary training at best, but it's more than she's ever had. That night, back in his chambers, she's apparently moved in without discussion, and neither of them questions it. She brews the silverleaf tea Talia gave her. It tastes like starlight and smoke, strange but not unpleasant. Will you be all right? The king asks, watching her from his chair by the fire. He's given her the bed again, maintaining a respectful distance even as the mate bond pulls at them both. I hope so. Talia said the tea will help me learn from the dreams instead of just experiencing them. If you need anything, if it becomes too much, wake me. Please. She nods, then hesitates. Can I ask you something? Anything. Your name. I still don't know your name. He goes very still. No one's asked me that in years. I'm always your majesty, or my king. The person I was before the crown, he trails off. His name was Kiran. Was. I had to kill him to become what the kingdom needed. Or so I thought. His smile is sad. But you make me remember what it felt like to be just Kiran. Not a title or a symbol. Just a man. I like Kiran, she says softly. He seems kind. Kiran was weak. Emotional. He let people hurt him because he couldn't bear to hurt them back. That's not weakness. That's humanity. He looks at her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps Kiran isn't dead after all. Just buried. Waiting for someone worth resurfacing for. The vulnerability in his voice breaks her heart and mends it simultaneously. Good night, Kiran, she whispers. Good night, Kaya. She climbs into bed, pulling the furs around her, the silverleaf tea warm in her belly. Sleep comes quickly, deeper than usual, and with it the dreams. But this time, she's not just witnessing. She's learning. The temple materializes around her, but now she can see details she missed before. The way the silver flames dance in patterns, not random, but deliberate, forming symbols in the air. The woman who looks like her is there again, and this time she speaks clearly. Watch, daughter of my line. This is how you call the flame. She demonstrates, her hands moving through the air in a specific sequence. The flames respond, gathering, shaping, becoming tools instead of weapons. The power is not meant to destroy. the woman explains. It's meant to protect, to heal, to illuminate what's hidden. But it will defend you if necessary.
Trust it.
Trust yourself. Kaya tries to mirror the movements, and to her shock, silver light begins to gather around her dream hands. It's faint, barely there, but real. Good, the woman encourages. Your blood remembers, even if your mind has forgotten. Practice this. Every night, in the dreams, until it becomes second nature. And when you reach the temple in the waking world, I'll teach you more. Who are you? Kaya asks. Are you my great-grandmother? I am Lenara, yes. But I am also all the priestesses who came before me. We are one in the flames, one in the power, one in the duty to protect our people. She smiles. And you, beloved child, are us. The culmination of every sacrifice, every hope, every prayer that the line would survive long enough to rise again.
I'm afraid, Kaya admits.
Afraid I'll fail. Afraid I'm not strong enough. Strength isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. Lenara's hand rests over Kaya's heart, warm and real despite being a dream. You've already proven your strength by surviving. Now prove it by living, by claiming what's yours, by standing as the guardian we need. The dream shifts, and suddenly Kaya is standing on a mountain overlook, looking down at the temple nestled in a valley below. It's overgrown but intact, silver veins of power running through the stone like luminous roots. 2 days' journey east, Lenara's voice whispers. Follow the silver. It will guide you home. Kaya wakes with tears on her cheeks and silver light fading from her fingertips. Kieran is beside the bed instantly, concern etched on his face. Are you all right? Yes, she breathes.
Yes.
I saw it, Kieran. The temple. And my great-grandmother she taught me how to start controlling it. She holds up her hands, concentrating the way Lenara showed her. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, faint as starlight, silver flames flicker to life in her palms. Kieran's eyes widen. By all the gods. The flames dance for a few seconds before fading, leaving Kaya exhausted but exhilarated. I can do this. I can learn this. Yes, he agrees, wonder in his voice. You can. And tomorrow, we start the journey to where you can learn to do so much more. She lies back down, but reaches out, finding his hand in the darkness. He lets her hold it, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her wrist. Tomorrow, she echoes. Tomorrow, they journey toward her destiny. Tomorrow, everything changes. But tonight, for just a few more hours, she can rest. Protected. Believed in. No longer alone. Dawn breaks cold and clear, painting the eastern mountains in shades of gold and amber that promise both beauty and danger. Kaya stands in the courtyard watching the horses being readied, her new traveling clothes, sturdy leather and reinforced fabric, feeling foreign against her skin. She spent 3 years in servants' garments, designed to help her disappear. These clothes are meant for someone who expects to be seen, someone who might need to fight. The thought sits heavy in her stomach. Kieran appears at her side, dressed for travel himself, twin blades strapped to his back with the casual ease of someone who's worn weapons since childhood. He looks different outside the formal confines of the palace, more dangerous, more real. This is the warrior king, not just the political figurehead. Ready? He asks, though his eyes search her face for any sign of hesitation.
No, she admits.
But I don't think I ever will be, so we might as well go anyway. His smile is quick and genuine.
Honest.
I appreciate that. 4 guards join them, handpicked by Kieran, all wearing expressions of stern loyalty. She recognizes one of them as the female guard who'd stopped others from harassing her months ago, who'd looked at her with something resembling pity instead of contempt. The woman nods at Kaya now, a gesture of respect that feels surreal. This is Captain Mira, Kieran introduces. She'll be in charge of our security detail. The others are her most trusted soldiers. Mira steps forward, her stance relaxed but alert. It's an honor to properly meet you, Lady Kaya. and to finally have the chance to make up for the palace's previous failure to protect you adequately. Lady Kaya. The title makes her want to laugh and cry simultaneously. Thank you, Captain. Though I'm not really. You're the king's chosen mate. Mira interrupts gently. That makes you lady whether you're comfortable with it or not. Best to get used to it now. They mount up, and Kaya's grateful for the riding lessons she'd taken as a child, before everything fell apart. The horse beneath her is steady and calm, sensing her nervousness and adjusting its gait accordingly. They leave through the eastern gate as the palace begins to wake, slipping out before the full household stirs. Kieran wanted this journey quiet, unannounced. The fewer people who know where they're going, the safer they'll be. Or so the theory goes. The first day of travel is uneventful, almost peaceful. They follow established roads through farmland and small villages, places where Kieran is recognized but not mobbed. People bow, whisper, watch them pass with curiosity. Kaya keeps her head up through sheer force of will, refusing to shrink under their stares. You're doing well, Kieran murmurs as they pause to water the horses at midday. Most people would be overwhelmed by the attention. I'm terrified, she admits. But I'm tired of letting fear control me.
Good.
Fear is useful, it keeps you alert. But letting it rule you is how you get killed. He hands her dried meat and bread from their supplies.
Eat.
We've got a long afternoon ahead, and the terrain gets more difficult from here.
He's right.
As they leave the settled lands and push into the foothills, the roads become paths, then trails, then barely marked routes through increasingly dense forest. The trees here are old, their branches forming canopies so thick that even midday feels like twilight. Kaya feels the change immediately. The air grows heavier, charged with something she can't quite name. The mark on her shoulder blade begins to tingle, not painfully, but insistently, like a compass needle finding north. We're getting close to something, she says quietly to Kieran. I can feel it. He nods, his hand drifting to one of his blades. So can I. My wolf is restless. Stay alert. They make camp that night in a small clearing, the guards establishing a perimeter while Kieran builds a fire with practiced efficiency. Kaya helps prepare a simple meal, grateful for something concrete to do with her hands. Tell me about your wolf, she says as they eat, the guards taking their meal at a respectful distance. You said he's been dormant for years. What changed? Kieran is quiet for a long moment, staring into the flames. When I took the throne at 19, I was unprepared. My father died suddenly, assassinated, though we could never prove it, and the kingdom was on the brink of civil war. The major houses were positioning for power, seeing an opportunity in my youth and inexperience. You were just a boy. I was the king. And I learned very quickly that boys don't survive the throne. So I became what they needed. Cold, calculating, ruthless when necessary. I made decisions that haunted me, sacrificed people I cared about for the greater good. And somewhere in all that, my wolf just stopped. He looks at her then, gold eyes reflecting firelight. I thought he was rejecting me, punishing me for what I'd become. The council started bringing potential mates, trying to force the bond, thinking maybe that would wake him. But he rejected every single one, didn't even acknowledge their existence. Until me. Until you. That night 3 years ago when you arrived, bloodied and broken and barely conscious, my wolf woke up howling. It was violent, desperate, like he'd been searching for something essential and finally found a trace of it. His jaw tightens. I didn't understand it then. Couldn't allow myself to act on instinct when you were so young and traumatized. So, I just watched. Made sure you were housed safely, that the worst of the harassment was stopped, that you had what you needed to survive. But you never approached me. Because I didn't trust myself. Didn't trust that what my wolf wanted wasn't just another way the universe was punishing me, dangling connection in front of me, but making it impossible to actually claim. He reaches across the space between them, taking her hand. But that night in the courtyard, when I saw them hunting you, when I felt your power surge and recognized what you carried, everything aligned. My wolf didn't just want you. He needed you. And for the first time in a decade, I felt whole. The confession hangs between them, raw and honest. I feel it too, Kaya whispers. The bond. Every time you're near, every time we touch, it's like something in me recognizes something in you. Like we're two halves of the same broken thing. Maybe that's exactly what we are. He brings her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. And maybe together, we're finally complete. The moment stretches, intimate and fragile. Then Captain Myra's voice cuts through it. Your Majesty, we have movement in the trees. North and east. Multiple signatures. Kieran is on his feet instantly, weapons drawn. All trace of vulnerability gone. How many? At least 6. Possibly more. They're trying to flank us. Kaya stands, her heart hammering. The silver mark on her shoulder burns hot now, a warning. They found us. Seems so. Kieran's voice is calm, controlled. Battle ready.
Mira, défensive formation.
Protect Kaya at all costs. Whatever comes out of those trees, I want her behind you. Your Majesty, with respect, protecting you is also. I can handle myself. She can't. Yet. His eyes meet Kaya's. Stay behind the guards. Don't engage unless you absolutely have to. Understood. She wants to argue, to insist she won't hide while others fight. But she's also pragmatic enough to know she'd be a liability in actual combat. So she nods, moving to the center of the defensive formation the guards are establishing. The forest has gone silent.
No birds. No insects.
Just the crackle of their fire and the sound of 6 people breathing in controlled rhythm, waiting. Then they come. Not shifters. Not entirely. Creatures pour from the darkness between trees, wolf-shaped but wrong. Their forms flickering like they're not quite solid, their eyes burning with unnatural silver fire. The same fire that destroyed her pack. Shadow beasts, Mira breathes. How? They shouldn't be this far from the cursed lands. Someone sent them, Kieran snarls. Someone who doesn't want us reaching that temple. The creatures circle, testing the perimeter, intelligent enough to look for weaknesses. There are more than 6. Kaya counts at least 10, with more shapes moving in the darkness beyond the firelight. They're manifestations of corrupted magic, one of the guards says, his voice tight with fear. You can't kill them with normal weapons. They just reform. Then we don't kill them, Kieran interrupts. We hold them off until dawn. Shadow beasts can't maintain form in direct sunlight. He glances at the sky. 4 hours. We just need to survive 4 hours. 4 hours might as well be forever. The first beast lunges. Kieran meets it mid-leap, his blades somehow connecting despite the creature's semi-ethereal form. It shrieks, a sound that scrapes against Kaya's mind like claws on glass, and dissolves into smoke. But 2 more immediately take its place. The clearing erupts into chaos. The guards fight with skill and coordination, their blades finding purchase on the shadow beasts more often than not. But for every creature they disperse, another appears. They're being overwhelmed, driven slowly backward toward the fire. Kaya watches, helpless and furious, as Captain Mira takes a vicious swipe across her shoulder, blood darkening her uniform. As one of the guards goes down, unconscious or dead, she can't tell. As Kieran fights with lethal grace, but is clearly being surrounded, cut off from the defensive formation. The mark on her shoulder feels like it's on fire. And suddenly she understands. These creatures are made of corrupted magic. The same kind that destroyed her pack, that killed her family. They're the weapon being used against anyone who carries the old bloodlines. And she carries the antidote. Get down, she screams at the guards. Everyone get down now. Mira hesitates for only a second before dropping to a crouch, yanking the other guards with her. Kieran meets Kaya's eyes across the clearing, understanding flashing between them, and he hits the ground without question. Kaya reaches for the power she spent 3 years suppressing. The silver light that flickered in her dreams, that danced on her fingertips this morning. She reaches for it with everything she has, not trying to control it or shape it, just letting it come. The mark on her shoulder explodes with light. Silver flames erupt from her hands, her arms, her entire body. But they don't burn her. They're warm, almost comforting, and they respond to her intent like extensions of her will. She throws her arms wide, and the flames expand outward in a wave. Where they touch the shadow beasts, the creatures shriek and disintegrate. Not temporarily dispersed like when the blades hit them. Actually destroyed, their corrupted essence consumed by the pure silver fire. The wave expands, pushing out from the clearing in all directions, and Kaya can feel every shadow beast it touches. There are dozens of them, all surrounding their position, all waiting for the right moment to attack. Her flames find them all. The forest lights up like day, silver fire washing through the darkness, purifying everything it touches. The shadow beasts scream as one, their voices creating a discordant chorus of rage and pain and finally, silence. And then it's over. The flames die down, pulling back into Kaya's body, and she staggers. Her legs won't hold her. She's falling, vision graying out, the world tilting. Strong arms catch her before she hits the ground. "I've got you," Kieran murmurs against her hair. "You're all right. You did it. You saved us." She wants to respond, but exhaustion drags at her like weights. Using that much power without training, without preparation, it's taken everything she has. "Let me see her," Myra's voice, urgent but controlled. "Your Majesty, is she breathing?" She's breathing. Just exhausted. Kieran adjusts his grip, lifting Kaya fully into his arms. "We need to move.
Now.
Whoever sent those beasts will know they failed, and they'll send something worse." The guard, Tomlin, he's dead. One of the soldiers reports grimly. "The beasts got to his throat before we could. We'll honor him properly when we're safe. Right now, we move." Kieran's voice is absolute command. "Mira, can you ride wounded?" "I've ridden worse, Your Majesty." Then we pack up, mount, and ride through the night. If Kaya's vision was accurate, we're less than a day from the temple. We can rest there. If we make it there, Kaya thinks dimly as consciousness slips away. If whatever's hunting us doesn't send something worse next time. But even as fear tries to claim her, she feels something else.
Pride.
Power. The knowledge that she's not helpless anymore. That the silver flames that destroyed her pack didn't come from her. They were a corruption of her power, a twisted version of what she should have been able to do. And now she's done it right. Use the flames to protect instead of destroy. Maybe Lenara was right. Maybe the power isn't the problem. Maybe it never was. She drifts in and out of consciousness as they ride, vaguely aware of Kieran's arms around her, keeping her steady in the saddle. Aware of the rapid pace, the desperate need to put distance between themselves and the attack site. Aware that they're being hunted by something with resources and determination. Someone who fears what she might become enough to throw shadow beasts at her. Someone who knows exactly what reaching the temple means. Dawn breaks as they climb higher into the mountains, the path narrowing to barely more than a goat track. The horses are exhausted, foam flecking their flanks. The guards are wounded and weary. But they don't stop, because stopping means dying. The sun rises higher, warming Kaya's face, and she finally manages to open her eyes fully. "How long?" 5 hours since the attack. Kieran answers, his voice rough with fatigue. "We're close. I can feel it. There's something ahead, old magic, strong magic. It has to be the temple." "The guard who died," Kaya whispers. "Tomlin. Did he have family?" "A sister in the Southern Territories. I'll make sure she's taken care of. That his sacrifice wasn't meaningless." Kieran's arms tighten around her briefly. "He died protecting you. Protecting what you represent. That's an honorable death for a soldier. It doesn't make it hurt less." They round a bend, and suddenly the valley opens before them. Nestled in the center, exactly as Kaya saw in her dreams, is the Temple of the Silver Flame. It's more magnificent than the vision conveyed. The stone gleams in the morning sun, silver veins running through it like living metal. The structure is partially reclaimed by nature, vines and trees growing through cracks, roots breaking apart courtyards, but intact in ways that defy 8 centuries of abandonment. And humming with power. Even from this distance, Kaya can feel it calling to her blood. There, she breathes. That's it. Then let's finish this, Kiran says. Whatever answers are waiting in that temple, whatever power you can claim there, let's end this running and start fighting back. They descend into the valley, and with every step closer to the temple, Kaya feels stronger. The exhaustion doesn't disappear, but it's balanced by anticipation. Purpose. This is what she was meant to find. This is where everything changes. But as they approach the temple entrance, massive doors carved with protective wards, a figure steps from the shadows. A woman, tall and regal, with silver-white hair and eyes that burn with ancient knowledge. Welcome, daughter of Luminal, she says, her voice echoing with power. We've been waiting 800 years for you to come home. And Kaya realizes that whatever she thought she understood about her destiny, she's only just begun to scratch the surface. The woman doesn't move from the temple entrance, but her presence fills the valley like a living thing. She's wearing robes that seem to shift between white and silver, the fabric catching light in ways that hurt to look at directly. Everything about her screams power, ancient, patient, and utterly inhuman. Who are you? Kiran demands, stepping forward so he's positioned between the woman and Kaya. His hand rests on his blade hilt, ready to draw. The woman's smile is amused. I have had many names. The priestesses who built this place knew me as the keeper. Your ancestors called me the First Flame. But names are just sounds, young king. What matters is what I am, the guardian of this threshold, the one who determines if those who seek entrance are worthy. Worthy, Kaya repeats, finding her voice. Her legs are steadier now, the temple's proximity already lending her strength. What does that mean? It means the temple does not open for just anyone. The power within is not a gift to be claimed, but a responsibility to be shouldered. Many have tried to enter over the centuries. None have passed my trial. The keeper's eyes, silver like flame, ancient like starlight, fix on Kaya. But you're different. You carry the blood, bear the mark, survived the cleansing fire. You have earned the right to attempt entry. Attempt, Kiran says flatly. What happens if she fails? Then she dies, and the bloodline ends, and the wellspring remains sealed until time itself runs out. The keeper's voice is utterly matter-of-fact. But she will not fail. Her great-grandmother ensured that. Kaya's throat tightens. Lenara. You knew her. She was the last to enter the temple before the order fell. She came seeking a way to protect her line, knowing persecution was coming. I gave her the ritual, the seal, the transfer of power. The keeper steps aside, and the massive temple doors begin to open with a grinding sound of stone on stone. She paid the price for your potential. Now you must pay the price for actualization. Wait, Mira interjects, her hand on her sword despite her wounded shoulder. Your Majesty, this could be a trap. We know nothing about this creature. She's not lying, Kaya says quietly, surprising herself with the certainty. I can feel it. The truth of what she's saying. The temple recognizes my blood, but it won't just let me waltz in and claim power I haven't earned. She looks at Kiran. I have to do this. We didn't come all this way to turn back now. Then I'm coming with you. No, the keeper says, and this time there's steel in her voice. The king may enter the outer courtyard, but the inner sanctum is for the initiate alone. This is her trial, her transformation. You cannot shield her from what must be done. Kiran's jaw clenches, every line of his body radiating frustration and protective fury. I don't like this. Neither do I, Kaya admits. But I don't think we have a choice. She steps forward, closing the distance between them, and takes his hands. I need you to trust me, to believe I can do this. I do trust you. It's ancient magical guardians demanding blood prices I don't trust. But he brings her hands to his lips, pressing kisses to her knuckles. How long? Until sunset tomorrow, the keeper answers. The transformation takes time. If she emerges before then, it means she has failed. If she has not emerged by sunset tomorrow, she is dead, and you should leave this valley before the temple's defenses turn on you. Comforting, Mira mutters. Kieran ignores her, his focus entirely on Kaya. Promise me something.
What?
Promise me you'll fight. Whatever happens in there, whatever you face, you fight to come back.
To me. To this.
He touches the place over her heart. Promise me. The intensity in his eyes, the raw need, makes her breath catch. I promise. He kisses her then, brief but fierce, a claiming and a plea wrapped into one. When he pulls back, his forehead rests against hers. I'll be waiting, right here, no matter how long it takes. Kieran, no matter how long, he repeats. She forces herself to step back, to turn toward the temple entrance. The keeper waits, patient and eternal. Beyond her, Kaya can see the outer courtyard. Overgrown but still beautiful, silver veins in the stone pulsing with gentle light. Wait, Kieran calls and she turns back. He's pulling something from his pack, a cloak, deep blue and lined with fur. It gets cold in the mountains at night. And I need you to have something of mine. Something to remind you that you're not alone. She takes the cloak, burying her face in it for a moment. It smells like him, pine and smoke and safety. Thank you. Then, before she can lose her courage, she walks through the temple doors. The keeper follows, and the moment they're both inside, the doors grind shut with terrible finality. The outer courtyard is massive, open to the sky, with a fountain at its center that somehow still flows with clear water. Stone benches line pathways overgrown with silver-leafed plants. It's peaceful, almost serene, and nothing like the trial chamber Kaya was expecting. This is where initiates would prepare, the keeper explains, walking toward the fountain. Meditate. Center themselves. Face their doubts before facing the inner trials. She gestures to a small building on the eastern edge. There are quarters there. Food and water. You should rest first. Restore what you spent destroying the shadow beasts. I thought there was urgency. There is always urgency, child. But entering the inner sanctum exhausted and depleted is suicide. The trials demand everything you have. Give yourself a few hours.
Eat.
Sleep if you can. The temple has waited 8 centuries. It can wait a few more hours. It makes sense, but Kaya's nerves are screaming at her to just get it over with. Still, she forces herself to follow the keeper's advice, moving toward the small building. Inside, it's surprisingly comfortable. A simple cot with clean bedding, a table with dried fruits, bread, and a pitcher of cool water. A brazier that lights itself when she enters, filling the space with warmth. I will return at sunset, the keeper says from the doorway. That is when the inner sanctum opens. Until then, prepare yourself however you need to. She leaves, and Kaya is alone. The silence is deafening. She forces herself to eat, though the food tastes like ash in her mouth. Forces herself to drink. Then she wraps Kieran's cloak around her shoulders and lies down, not expecting to sleep, but needing to rest her body. And surprisingly, sleep comes.
No dreams this time.
Just darkness and peace and the sensation of being held by something vast and patient. She wakes to the sound of the keeper's voice. It is time. The sun is setting, painting the courtyard in shades of gold and amber. Kaya rises, shedding Kieran's cloak reluctantly and folding it carefully on the cot. She doesn't know if she'll be back for it, but she needs to believe she will. The keeper leads her to the center of the courtyard, where a stairway has appeared, descending into the earth, lit by silver flames that cast no shadow. The inner sanctum lies below. 3 chambers, 3 trials. Face yourself. Face your power. Face your purpose. The keeper's eyes are ancient and sad. Many believe power is claimed through strength. But the priestesses understood truth. Power is claimed through surrender. Through accepting what you are, all of what you are, without flinching. And if I flinch, then you die, and the world loses what it desperately needs. The keeper steps back. Go, daughter of Luminal. Your ancestors walk with you. Kayat descends. The stairs go down far longer than should be possible, the air growing warmer, charged with energy that makes her skin tingle. Finally, they open into the first chamber. It's circular, the walls covered in mirrors that reflect her image back infinitely. But the reflections are wrong. One shows her as she was at 10, practicing magic with her great-grandmother, eyes bright with innocent wonder. Another shows her at 13, silver light dancing on her fingers, her mother's fear-stricken face behind her. Another shows her in the root cellar, covered in dirt and tears, surviving while everyone she loved burned. And one, the largest mirror directly ahead, shows her as she is now, but also as she could be. Silver flames crown her head like a halo. Her eyes burn with power. She stands tall, regal, terrifying and beautiful in equal measure. Which one are you? A voice asks, her voice, coming from all the reflections at once. The innocent child? The feared daughter? The broken survivor? The powerful priestess? Which is real? All of them, Kaya whispers. All of them are me. Then prove it, the voices demand. Show us you can accept every version, every moment, every choice. The shame and the pride, the weakness and the strength. Show us you don't reject any piece of yourself. The mirrors begin to glow, and suddenly she's not just seeing the memories, she's living them again. Feeling the joy of those early lessons with Lenara, the woman's patient voice teaching her to find the silver light inside. Feeling the terror when the power first manifested uncontrollably, her mother's barely concealed horror. Feeling the suffocating darkness of the root cellar, the guilt of surviving, the bone-deep certainty that she should have died with them. I was a coward, she sobs, the words tearing out of her. I hid while they burned. I survived because I was too afraid to try to save them. You survived because your power protected you. The voice is correct, gentler now. Because your great-grandmother's seal activated, because your mother threw you in the cellar knowing the protection wards there would hold. You survived because they chose to save you, not because you were weak, because you were precious. But I let them die. You were 15 years old and facing corrupted magic that would have killed you in seconds. Survival wasn't cowardice. It was the only option. The voice from the largest mirror, her own voice, but wiser, older, speaks clearly. You've carried this guilt for 3 years. Let it define you. Let it make you small. But guilt is not who you are. It's just something you feel. And it's time to let it go. I don't know how. Yes, you do. You forgive yourself. You accept that you did the only thing you could do. You honor their sacrifice by living, not just surviving, but actually living. Being everything they died to protect. Tears streamed down her face, years of suppressed grief and shame pouring out. I miss them. I miss them so much. We know, and they know, but they're not gone, Kaya. They're in your blood, your power, your memories. They live on in everything you do, every choice you make, especially the choice to stand up and claim what you are. She approaches the largest mirror, placing her palm against the cool glass. Her reflection, powerful, complete, matches the gesture. I accept, Kaya whispers. The child I was, the girl I became, the survivor who endured, and the priestess I'm becoming. I accept all of it. All of me. The mirrors explode into light, not shattering but dissolving, the reflected versions of herself merging back into one. When the light fades, the chamber has transformed. A doorway stands open, leading deeper. The second chamber. This one is smaller, darker, lit only by a single silver flame hovering at its center. And surrounding the flame, shadows writhe, the same shadow beasts from the forest, but contained, circling the light like moths drawn to flame. Your power is both creation and destruction. A new voice says, this one male, ancient, reverberating with authority. The silver flame heals and protects, but it also burns, consumes, destroys. To wield it safely, you must understand both aspects. Must be willing to use both when necessary. The shadows surge toward her, and instinct makes her throw up her hands. Silver flames erupt, exactly like in the forest, and the shadows shriek and dissolve. Good, the voice approves. But that's easy. Destroying things that want to destroy you requires no moral courage. Now try the difficult part. The silver flame at the chamber's center flares, and suddenly she sees images within it. Kiran on the battlefield, wounded, dying. Mira and the guards overwhelmed. The palace burning. And standing in the midst of it all, orchestrating the destruction, someone she can't quite see clearly, but whose presence radiates malice. To stop this, the voice says, you would need to use your power not just to defend but to destroy. Not shadow beasts or corrupted magic, but living people. Those who hunt you, who orchestrate the bloodline genocide, who threaten everything you care about. Could you do it? Could you burn them with silver fire, knowing they would die in agony? Could you become the weapon your enemies fear? Her stomach turns. That's murder. It's war. It's protection. It's the reality of power. Sometimes, to save, you must be willing to destroy. The priestesses of old understood this. They were healers and guardians, yes, but also warriors when necessary. Executioners of those who would corrupt the wellspring. She stares at the vision, watching Kiran die over and over. If it came to that, if there was no other way, yes, she admits, the word tasting like poison. Yes, I would. To protect the people I love, to stop genocide, to defend the balance, I would use my power to kill. I don't want to. I never want to. But I could. I would. The confession feels like failure and strength simultaneously. Good, the voice says again. Power without the will to use it completely is just potential. You must be willing to be both healer and destroyer, both mercy and judgment. This is the burden of the guardian. The shadows dissolve, the vision fades, and the silver flame expands, filling the chamber with light. When it recedes, the third doorway stands open. Kaya's hands are shaking, but she forces herself forward. The final chamber is vast, the walls so distant they fade into darkness. At the center stands a pool of liquid silver, perfectly still, reflecting nothing. And standing beside it waiting is Lenara. Not a vision or a dream. Somehow, impossibly, actually her great-grandmother. Hello, beloved child, Lenara says, and her voice is warm, real, exactly as Kaya remembers from those stolen moments in childhood. You've come so far. You're dead, Kaya whispers. My body is. My spirit is bound to this place, part of the temple's defense and guidance. I told you once that I would always protect you. Lenara smiles. This is how. By being here for this moment. What is this? Kaya gestures to the pool. The wellspring. The source of all shifter magic. It's been sealed for 8 centuries. The connection to our people severed. The mate bonds weakening. The transformations becoming painful. The gifts diluting with every generation. Because there's no priestess to maintain the balance, to ensure the power flows correctly. And you want me to what? Unseal it?
No.
I want you to bond with it. Become its guardian, as every high priestess has done since the beginning. It's not just responsibility, Kaya. It's power. More power than you can imagine. Enough to heal the fractured bonds, to restore what was lost, to protect against those who would corrupt the source. Lenara's expression grows serious. But it comes with a price. It always does. Once bonded to the wellspring, you are bound to it. You cannot stray far from the temple for long without weakening. Your lifespan extends dramatically. You'll live centuries, watching those you love age and die while you endure. And you carry the weight of every shifter's connection to magic. Their pain becomes your pain. Their corruption becomes your battle. The cost is staggering. To gain everything, she must give up the simple life she'll never have. The possibility of growing old with Kieran, of being normal. But normal was never her destiny. If I refuse, she asks, then you keep the power you have, return to Kieran, live whatever life you can manage. The wellspring stays sealed. The bonds continue weakening. Eventually, shifters fade entirely, becoming just humans with old stories. And those hunting the bloodlines win. Lenara's eyes are sad but understanding. I won't force you. This must be your choice, made freely, with full knowledge of what it costs. Kaya looks at the pool of silver, at the power waiting to be claimed. She thinks of Kieran, waiting above, promised a mate who might become something he can barely hold on to. She thinks of the people who died protecting her, Tomlin and her family, and countless others caught in this war they didn't understand. She thinks of the shadow beasts, of the systematic genocide, of a future where shifters disappear entirely. If I do this, she says slowly, if I bond with the wellspring, can I still be with him? Can the mate bond survive what I'll become? The mate bond is part of the wellspring's magic. If anything, bonding with the source will strengthen what's between you. Lenara steps closer. You won't lose him, Kaya, but you will change. And he'll have to accept what you become, not just as mate, but the High Priestess, the guardian of all shifters, not just one pack. Can you trust him to adapt? Can she? She thinks of the way he looked at her in the courtyard, the way he caught her when she fell, the way he promised to wait no matter how long it took. She thinks of the man who gave her his cloak, who called her precious, who saw strength where everyone else saw curse. Yes, she says firmly. I trust him. Then the choice is yours. Kaya approaches the pool. Her reflection finally appears in its surface, not as she is, but as she will be. Silver flames crown her head. Her eyes burn with ancient knowledge. She looks powerful and lonely and beautiful and terrible. She looks like herself, finally. I accept, she says, and steps into the pool. The silver liquid is warm, almost blood temperature, and the moment it touches her skin, power floods her body. Not painful, but overwhelming, like trying to drink an ocean through a straw. She gasps, struggles, nearly pulls back. Lenara's hand catches hers. I've got you. Breathe through it. Let it flow. Don't fight it. Your blood knows what to do. Kaya sinks deeper, the silver rising to her waist, her chest, her shoulders. The mark on her shoulder blade burns white hot, and suddenly she understands. It's the interface, the key Lenara created to let her do this. Without the seal, the wellspring's power would tear her apart. With it, she can channel, contain, become. She goes under completely, and everything changes. She sees everything, feels everything. Every shifter alive, their connections to the wellspring like threads in an impossibly complex tapestry. She can feel where bonds are frayed, where corruption has taken hold, where power flows wrong. She can sense the king above, his worry and determination, the mate bond between them suddenly clear as crystal, a golden thread stronger than any other. She can feel the attackers too. Those who corrupted the wellspring's power, who created the shadow beasts, who orchestrate the genocide. Their signature is dark, twisted, wrong. And there are more of them than she expected. This isn't just one rogue mage. It's an organization, a conspiracy. And they're closer than anyone realizes. The knowledge nearly breaks her. But Lenara's spirit is there, steadying her, teaching her how to accept the information without being crushed by it. Good, her great-grandmother whispers. Now reach out. Through the bonds. Heal what's broken. Strengthen what's weak. Show them what a true guardian can do. Kaya reaches out through the network of connections, finding the frayed bonds first. Mate bonds that never fully formed, transformations that cause pain, gifts that manifested wrong. She pours power into them, gently correcting, healing, restoring. Throughout the kingdom, shifters gasp as bonds that have been broken for years suddenly snap into place. Pain vanishes from transformations. Dormant gifts awaken. It's subtle enough that most won't understand what happened. They'll just know something fundamental shifted. Something got better. But Kieran, with his mate bond to her burning bright, will know exactly what it means. She's done it. Claimed her destiny. Become the guardian. Kaya rises from the pool, the silver liquid streaming off her, and she's changed. Taller, stronger, her eyes burning with silver flame, her presence radiating power. Lenara watches with pride and sadness. You're magnificent, the older woman says. Everything I hoped you'd become. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to try. Lenara embraces her, and Kaya can feel the spirit beginning to fade. My task is complete. The line continues. The guardian rises. I can rest now. Don't go, Kaya pleads.
Stay.
Teach me. You have everything you need inside you now. Trust yourself. Trust your power. And trust that boy waiting for you above. He's stronger than you think. Lenara kisses her forehead. Be everything they fear, beloved. And never apologize for it. She dissolves into light, merging with the wellspring. Finally at peace. Kaya stands alone in the chamber, power thrumming through her veins, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders like a crown. But she's not alone. Not really. She can feel Kieran above, his presence like a beacon. And through the wellspring, she can feel every shifter in the kingdom, every connection she's now sworn to protect. It's terrifying and exhilarating and exactly what she was born to do. She climbs back through the chambers, no longer trials, but simply rooms, the temple acknowledging her as its mistress now. Climbs the stairs to the courtyard where dawn is just beginning to break. The keeper waits at the top, and when she sees Kaya, she bows, actual reverence from an ancient being. High priestess, she greets. The temple acknowledges you. Will you seal it again, or leave it open? Leave it open, Kaya decides. This place was meant to be a refuge, a school, a center of learning. It's time it served that purpose again. The keeper nods approval, then steps aside. The outer doors stand open, and beyond them, Kieran waits. He's standing exactly where she left him, wrapped in his own cloak against the dawn chill, his eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. The guards are scattered around the courtyard entrance, Mira sleeping sitting up against a tree, the others taking watch rotations. But Kieran is awake, watching, waiting. The moment he sees her emerge, his eyes widen. Because she knows she must look different, taller, glowing faintly, marked by power in ways that weren't there before. For a heartbeat, she fears he'll be afraid, that the change is too much, too alien, too far from the broken Omega he claimed. Then he's moving, closing the distance between them in seconds, and he's pulling her into his arms with desperate relief. You're alive, he breathes against her hair. I felt something, the bond strengthened, changed, and I didn't know if that meant you were okay, or... I'm okay, she assures him, wrapping her arms around him, grounding herself in his solid warmth. I did it. I bonded with the wellspring. I'm the guardian now. He pulls back just enough to look at her, his hands framing her face. You're different. Is that bad? No, his smile is fierce and proud. You're magnificent.
Terrifying. Mine.
He kisses her, and it's different too. The mate bond blazing between them, stronger and clearer than ever. She can feel his emotions now. Relief, pride, possessiveness, love so fierce it takes her breath away. And underneath it all, fear. Fear of losing her to the responsibility she's claimed. Fear that she'll grow beyond him. She breaks the kiss, meeting his eyes. I'm still me. Still yours. This doesn't change that. Doesn't it? You're the high priestess now, guardian of all shifters. That's a responsibility, a duty, a burden I'll carry. She presses her hand over his heart. But it doesn't change the fact that my heart chose you. That our bond is real. That I need you. Need, he repeats, and there's vulnerability in his voice. For how long? You'll live centuries now. And you're just the king. My mate. The person who believed in me when no one else did. She kisses him again, softer this time. We'll figure it out. Together. Like we always have. He holds her tighter, and she feels the fear beginning to ease. It's not gone. They both know the path ahead is complicated. But they'll walk it side by side. Together, he agrees. Mira stirs, waking, and her eyes go wide when she sees Kaya. By the gods. Your eyes. I know. I'm different now, but still on your side. Kaya straightens, stepping out of Kieran's embrace, but keeping hold of his hand. We should head back to the palace. I have work to do. A conspiracy to unravel. Enemies to face. The girl who hid in cellars is gone. Kieran observes, pride in his voice. No, Kaya corrects. She's still here. She's just decided to stop hiding. They prepare to leave, but before they do, Kaya turns back to the temple one last time. The keeper stands in the doorway, ancient and patient. I'll be back, Kaya promises. This place needs to be restored. Needs to serve its purpose again. We will be here, the keeper agrees. Waiting for when the high priestess returns. They ride out as the sun climbs higher, heading back toward the palace. Toward the enemies who won't be expecting what she's become. Toward a future that's terrifying and uncertain and hers to shape. But for now, with Kieran beside her and power thrumming in her veins and purpose clear in her heart, Kaya allows herself a moment of peace. She's not broken anymore. She's not cursed. She's the high priestess of the silver flame. And the world is about to learn what that means. The journey back to the palace takes 3 days instead of 2. Not because they're slower, but because every few hours, Kaya has to stop, overwhelmed by the sensations flooding through her connection to the wellspring. She can feel shifters across the kingdom experiencing their bonds strengthening, their transformations smoothing, their gifts awakening. The joy, the confusion, the wonder, it all flows through her like a river threatening to sweep her away. Breathe, Kieran reminds her each time, his hand steady on her back. Ground yourself. You're not responsible for feeling everything, just maintaining the connection. Easy to say. Harder to do when she can literally feel thousands of lives pulsing through her awareness. But she's learning. By the second day, she can filter the sensations better, focus on the ones that need immediate attention while letting the rest flow past. By the third day, she's managing actual conversations without losing focus. You're adapting quickly, Mira observes as they make camp the final night before reaching the palace. Most people would be completely overwhelmed by that kind of power influx. I don't feel like I have a choice, Kaya admits, accepting the tea Kieran hands her. The wellspring doesn't care if I'm ready. It just is. And I have to keep up or drown. You won't drown. Kieran sits beside her, close enough that their shoulders touch. You're too stubborn for that. She manages a tired smile. Is that supposed to be romantic? It's supposed to be true. He takes her free hand, threading their fingers together. Though I'll work on my romantic declarations later, when you're not half dead from exhaustion. The moment is quiet, intimate, almost normal. Like they're just two people by a campfire instead of a king and a mystical guardian carrying the weight of their entire species. Then Kaya feels it. A disturbance in the wellspring's network. Not natural weakening or simple pain. This is deliberate corruption. Someone is actively trying to sever bonds, to twist the power flowing through shifters into something wrong. And it's coming from inside the palace. No, she breathes, her teeth falling from nerveless fingers. No, not there. Kaya? Kieran's immediately alert, reading her distress. What is it? The palace. Someone inside is corrupting the wellspring's power.
Right now.
Targeting the guards, the servants. She's on her feet, swaying as she tries to pinpoint the exact source. We have to get there.
Now.
It's still hours away, even riding hard. Then we ride hard. Her eyes blaze silver. Because if we don't, dozens of people are going to die, and the corruption will spread. They break camp in minutes, mounting exhausted horses and pushing them harder than they should. Kaya can feel every minute ticking by like a countdown, can feel the corruption spreading through the palace like poison through veins. She tries to fight it from a distance, pushing pure wellspring energy through the bonds to counteract the corruption. But it's like trying to heal a wound while someone actively makes it worse. She's slowing the damage, not stopping it. Faster, she pleads, even though the horses are already at their limit. Kieran leans forward, something shifting in his posture, and suddenly his horse surges ahead with renewed strength. The others follow suit, as if his will alone is lending them power. Maybe it is. He's the Alpha King. His authority isn't just political. They reach the palace just after midnight, galloping through gates that swing open at Kieran's shouted command. The courtyard is chaos. Guards stumbling, clutching their heads, some collapsed entirely. Servants screaming. The corruption has taken hold, turning the power that should strengthen them into a weapon against them. Kaya dismounts before her horse fully stops, hitting the ground running. Where's the source? Who's doing this? The council chamber. A guard gasps, blood trickling from his nose. Alpha Darius, he called an emergency session, said there was a threat. Of course. The council. The perfect cover for betrayal. Kieran's beside her instantly, weapons drawn. If Darius is behind this. He is, or he isn't, but someone in that room is. Kaya's already moving, following the threads of corruption back to their source. And I'm going to stop them. They burst through the palace corridors, guards struggling to keep up, Mira right behind them despite her still healing shoulder. The council chamber doors are closed, locked from the inside, but Kieran doesn't slow. He hits them with his full weight and enhanced strength, the doors exploding inward. The scene inside is worse than Kaya imagined. The 12 council seats are occupied, but half the alphas are slumped unconscious or worse. Alpha Talia, the woman who helped her, who spoke kindly of her great-grandmother, is on her knees, blood streaming from her eyes, fighting something invisible with everything she has. And standing at the center of the chamber, hands raised with dark energy crackling between them, is Alpha Darius. But he's not alone. 3 other alphas stand with him, their expressions cold and determined. A full third of the council, revealed as traitors in one horrifying moment. Your Majesty, Darius says calmly, not even lowering his hands. How kind of you to return. And with your little priestess too. Perfect timing, really. What have you done? Kieran's voice is deadly quiet, the kind of calm that precedes absolute violence. What was necessary? What should have been done 8 centuries ago when the first priestesses tried to control our power? Darius's smile is cold. The wellspring was never meant to be guarded by one lineage, never meant to be regulated by spiritual leaders who answered to no one. It should belong to the strong, to those willing to take it and use it properly. By corrupting it, Kaya demands, silver flames already gathering at her fingertips. By destroying the bonds that keep our people connected, by freeing us from those bonds. They're chains, girl. Pretty, comfortable chains that make us weak. That make us dependent on mates and packs and connection instead of standing on our own strength. One of the other traitor alphas speaks now, a woman Kaya doesn't recognize. We've been systematically eliminating the old bloodlines for years, trying to sever the wellspring's influence entirely. But you had to survive. Had to claim your inheritance. Had to undo years of careful work in one night. The genocide. The systematic murders. It wasn't about fear of the old power. It was about destroying the wellspring's influence entirely. You're insane, Mira breathes. We're visionaries, Darius corrects. And we were so close. Another few years, another few bloodlines eliminated, and the wellspring would have dried up entirely. Shifters would have evolved beyond it, become stronger individually even as the collective weakened. But now, his eyes fix on Kaya with pure hatred. Now we have a fully bonded guardian undoing everything. So we're adapting. If we can't sever the connection, we'll corrupt it at the source. Poison every bond, twist every gift, until the wellspring becomes a liability instead of a strength. And then your precious shifters will beg us to destroy it. Starting with everyone in this room, the third traitor adds. Once the kingdom sees what happens to those closest to the king, how the wellspring's power can be turned against them, they'll demand the guardian be eliminated. Problem solved. Kaya feels the corruption intensifying, Darius and his allies pouring dark energy into the chamber, targeting every shifter present. Talia collapses completely. 2 more alphas start convulsing. Stop this. Kieran roars, moving to attack.
No.
Kaya grabs his arm. If you fight them physically, they'll just keep channeling. I have to stop them at the source. Through the wellspring. You're not strong enough. I have to be. She pulls away from him, stepping forward, placing herself between the traitors and their victims. Everyone who's still conscious, get behind me.
Now.
The loyal alphas stumble to obey, Mira helping Talia to her feet. Kieran hesitates for only a second before positioning himself beside Kaya, refusing to leave her exposed. This is your play? Darius laughs. One barely trained priestess against 4 alphas who've spent decades learning to manipulate the wellspring's power? 3 decades of corruption versus 8 centuries of legacy, Kaya counters and lets her power fully manifest. Silver flames erupt around her, not wild like before but controlled, purposeful. She can feel the wellspring responding, flooding her with strength. She reaches through the network of bonds, finding every corrupted thread, every poison connection, and she purges them. It's like cauterizing wounds, painful, brutal, but necessary. The dark energy Darius and his allies are channeling suddenly has nowhere to anchor. It dissipates, backlashes, turns on its wielders. They scream. Impossible! Darius gasps, his hands smoking where the corrupted power is burning him. You can't. The wellspring shouldn't be able to reject. It's not rejecting your power, Kaya says, advancing on them, silver flames growing brighter. It's rejecting your corruption. The wellspring is meant to connect, to strengthen, to heal. What you're trying to do is antithetical to its nature. And I am its guardian, which means she reaches out with her will, and the wellspring responds like an extension of her body. The bonds connecting Darius and his allies to their packs, to the greater shifter network, become visible, threads of gold light wrapped in dark corruption. Which means I can sever you completely. The threat lands like a physical blow. Every shifter in the room feels it, the absolute power she wields, the ability to cut them off from everything that makes them what they are. You wouldn't. One of the female traitors breathes. That would make you know better than us.
Wrong.
It would make me exactly what I meant to be, a guardian protecting the wellspring from those who would destroy it. Kaya's eyes blaze. But you're right that I don't want to do it. So, I'm giving you one chance.
Stand down.
Surrender. Face justice for the murders you've committed, the genocide you've orchestrated. Or I end you here, cutting you off from the source of your power, leaving you human and helpless. Some choice, Darius spits. But his hands have lowered. The dark energy has dissipated. Because he knows, they all know, that she's not bluffing. Your Majesty, Kaya says, not taking her eyes off the traitors. These 4 alphas are guilty of conspiracy, murder, and treason against the kingdom and all shifter kind. What's your judgment? Kieran's voice, when it comes, is colder than ice.
Death.
For every pack they destroyed, every innocent they murdered, every bond they corrupted.
Death.
No, one of them starts. You killed children, Talia interrupts, her voice hoarse but steady. You burned entire families. You targeted the most vulnerable packs because they couldn't fight back. You don't get to plead now. Guards, Kieran commands. Take them to the dungeons. They'll face formal execution at dawn. Guards flood in, healthy ones from outside the corrupted chamber, and move to arrest the traitors. Darius resists, tries to channel one more burst of power, and Caius simply pinches his connection to the wellspring. He collapses, suddenly ordinary, his enhanced strength gone. That's temporary, she tells him as guards drag him away. But if you try anything before the execution, I'll make it permanent. Understand? The fear in his eyes is answer enough. As the traitors are removed, the chamber erupts into controlled chaos. Healers rush in to tend the wounded alphas. Servants bring water and blankets for those in shock. Mira coordinates security, ensuring no other conspirators are hiding. And Kieran pulls Kaya aside into a small antechamber off the main room, away from the madness. Are you alright? His hands frame her face, searching for injury.
I've fine.
Exhausted, but fine. She leans into his touch. But Kieran, this is worse than we thought. A third of your council was actively trying to destroy the wellspring. How many others are sympathetic to their cause? How deep does this conspiracy go? I don't know, but we're going to find out. His jaw tightens. And we're going to root out every last traitor, no matter how high they've climbed. That could destabilize the entire kingdom. Then the kingdom will be unstable for a while. Better that than slowly poisoned from within. He kisses her forehead. You were incredible in there. Terrifying, but incredible. I threatened to make them human. To cut them off from their wolves entirely. Her voice shakes slightly. It's one of the worst things I can do to a shifter. And I meant it. I would have done it. Because they deserved it. Because they were actively murdering our people. He makes her look at him. Don't second-guess yourself. You did what a guardian is supposed to do, protected the wellspring and those connected to it. That's not cruelty. That's justice. She wants to believe him, wants to feel righteous instead of shaken. But the weight of what she's become, the power she wields, the decisions she can make, is overwhelming. Come on, Kieran says gently. You need rest. Real rest, not the half-sleep you've been managing on the road. There's too much to do. And it will still be there in the morning. The traitors are contained. The corruption is purged. The council needs time to recover anyway. He takes her hand. Please, let me take care of you for a few hours. She's too exhausted to argue. Lets him lead her back to his chambers. Their chambers now, she supposes, though they've never formally discussed it. Lets him help her out of her travel-stained clothes and into a soft nightgown. Lets him tuck her into bed with a gentleness that makes her throat tight. Stay, she whispers as he turns to leave. I have to coordinate with Mira, establish additional security. Please. Just for a little while. He hesitates, then nods, removing his weapons and boots and climbing into bed beside her. She immediately curls into him, resting her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I'm scared, she admits in the darkness. Of what I'm becoming. Of how much power I have. Of making the wrong choice and destroying everything. Then you're smarter than most people with power. His arms tighten around her. The ones who should really scare us are the ones who never question themselves, who think they always know best. Like Darius and his allies. But what if I become like them? What if I start thinking I know what's best for everyone, start making decisions that... You won't. His conviction is absolute. Because you have something they don't. Empathy. Connection. Love. He kisses the top of her head. And you have me. And I promise, if you ever start veering toward corruption, I'll pull you back. Even if you hate me for it. I could never hate you. Famous last words. But there's warmth in his voice. Sleep, Kaya. Let me handle things for a few hours. When you wake up, we'll face whatever comes next. Together. Together. Her anchor. Her constant. She drifts off with his heartbeat in her ears and his warmth surrounding her, feeling safe for the first time since returning to the palace. But safety is an illusion, because in the dungeons below, Darius is smiling. Even captured, even awaiting execution, he's smiling. You think this is over? He tells the guard watching him. You think we were the only ones? This is so much bigger than 4 traitors on a council. There are dozens of us. Hundreds, maybe. Throughout the kingdom, throughout the territories, all working toward the same goal. Shut up, the guard snaps. The guardian thinks she's won. Thinks purging our corruption means she's safe. But she's exposed now. Visible. Vulnerable. Darius's smile widens. And when you're the most powerful piece on the board, you become the biggest target. They're coming for her. And not even the king will be able to stop it. The guard doesn't respond, but unease creeps through him. Because even traitors sometimes tell the truth. And upstairs, as Kaya sleeps wrapped in Kieran's protection, the forces arrayed against her are already mobilizing. The Guardian has risen. Now comes the real war. The execution is scheduled for dawn, but Kaya wakes hours before in cold darkness, her body tense with a warning she can't quite name. The wellspring is agitated, not corrupted, but disturbed. Like water sensing a coming storm. Kieran is already awake beside her, staring at the ceiling with the stillness of someone who's been thinking for hours. You feel it too, she says quietly. Something's wrong. I just can't determine what. He turns his head to look at her. My wolf is restless. Has been since we locked them up. Mine too. She sits up, letting the sheet fall away, and closes her eyes to focus on the wellspring's network. The bonds are stable. The corruption is cleared. But there's a wrongness she can't pinpoint, like looking at a painting where one element is slightly off but you can't identify which. Then she feels it. A surge of dark energy, not from the dungeons, but from outside the palace entirely. Multiple sources, converging on their location. And they're strong. Far stronger than Darius and his 3 allies. We're under attack, she gasps, throwing off the covers.
Now.
Multiple sources. Coming from. The explosion rocks the entire palace. Stone shutters. Glass shatters. Alarms begin wailing throughout the complex. Kieran is up and armed in seconds, already moving toward the door. Stay here, he commands. Absolutely not. She's pulling on clothes, her power already rising in response to the threat. They're targeting the wellspring's bonds. I can feel them trying to sever connections across the entire palace. If I stay here, people die. He wants to argue. She can see it in his face. But he knows she's right. Then stay close to me, he finally says. And if I tell you to run, I won't. So don't bother. She finishes dressing, silver flames already dancing along her arms. Where's the strongest attack coming from? The main courtyard. They're trying to breach from. He stops, his face going pale. The dungeons. They're attacking from the dungeons. Understanding crashes over them both. The prisoners. They're not the target, they're the beacon. They burst from the chambers into corridors filled with smoke and chaos. Guards rush past, servants flee, and through the windows, Kaya can see figures moving in the courtyard. Dozens of them, maybe more, all channeling the same dark energy she felt from Darius. How many are there, she breathes. Too many. Mira appears from a side corridor, her armor hastily donned, sword already bloody. We're counting at least 50 attackers outside, and they've somehow breached the dungeon level. The prisoners are free and fighting alongside them. 50 coordinated attackers with corruption magic means this was planned months in advance. Kieran snarls. Darius wasn't lying. The conspiracy is massive. And they're all here for me, Kaya realizes. Not to destroy the kingdom, to destroy the Guardian before I can become strong enough to stop them permanently. Another explosion, closer this time. Part of the eastern wall collapses, and attackers pour through the breach, like water through a broken dam. Your Majesty, we need to evacuate you, Mira insists. Get you and the Guardian to the safe house. And leave everyone else to die? Kieran's voice is flat.
No.
We end this here.
Now.
He looks at Kaya. Can you protect the palace while I organize the defense? She wants to say yes. Wants to be confident in her abilities. But she's only been bonded to the wellspring for 3 days. She's barely learned to filter the sensations, let alone use the power on this scale. But looking at the fear in the servant's eyes, at the determination in Kieran's face, at the blood on Myra's sword, she knows there's no choice. I can do it, she says, hoping it's true. They split up, Kieran and Mira moving to coordinate the guards' defensive positions, Kaya heading toward the highest point she can reach. If she's going to shield the entire palace, she needs altitude, line of sight, connection to as much of the structure as possible. The tower. The same one where Kieran keeps his private quarters. The highest point in the palace. She runs, taking stairs 3 at a time, her power building with every step. Behind her, she can hear fighting, steel against steel, screams of pain and rage, the distinctive crack of bones breaking as shifters engage in close combat. The attackers aren't just using corruption magic. They're also physically invading, overwhelm the defenses through sheer numbers. Kaya reaches the top of the tower, bursting onto the open platform where observation equipment and signal fires are kept. The view is staggering. She can see the entire palace complex, the city beyond, and the horrifying scope of the attack. Fires burn in 3 different sections. The courtyard is a battlefield, guards and attackers locked in vicious combat. And pouring through the dungeon breach, she can see more figures emerging. Not just the escaped prisoners, but reinforcements they've somehow smuggled in. All right, she whispers to herself, to the wellspring, to her ancestors. Time to stop hiding what I am. She plants her feet, spreads her arms wide, and opens herself completely to the wellspring's power. It floods her like a tsunami, overwhelming, immense, more than any individual should be able to contain. For a moment, she feels herself starting to fracture under the pressure. But then she remembers Lenara's words. Surrender. Accept. Let it flow through you, not into you. She stops trying to hold the power and instead becomes a conduit for it. Silver flames erupt from her body, shooting upward in a column of light visible across the entire city. The mark on her shoulder blade burns white-hot, and she feels the wellspring itself respond, recognizing its guardian, lending its full strength. Protect, she commands, her voice resonating with power that isn't entirely her own. Shield. Defend. The silver flames expand outward in a dome, covering the entire palace complex. Where they touch corrupted energy, it dissolves. Where they touch injured shifters, wounds begin to heal. Where they touch the attacking forces, the attackers scream, because Kaya isn't just defending. She's purging. Every person channeling corrupted power suddenly finds that power turning on them, burning away their connection to the stolen, wellspring energy, leaving them defenseless. No, someone screams from the courtyard, one of the attack leaders. She can't. The wellspring shouldn't be able to manifest defensively. You don't know what the wellspring can do, Kaya calls down, her voice carrying with supernatural clarity. You only know the corrupted scraps you've been stealing. Let me show you what a true guardian commands. She focuses on the dungeon breach, where Darius and his allies are leading a surge of reinforcements. With a thought, she channels pure wellspring energy through the bonds connecting them to their packs, their territories, their wolves. And she offers them a choice. Every attacker suddenly feels it, a pull, a connection to the true source of their power. Uncorrupted.
Clean.
Everything they were supposed to have access to before Darius and his conspiracy twisted it. You don't have to fight for them, she projects, her words reaching every shifter in the battle. Whatever they promised you, power, freedom, strength, it was built on lies. On corruption that would eventually destroy you. But the wellspring is open now. The guardian has risen. And every one of you can have access to pure power, untwisted, if you just stop fighting and accept the bond you were born to have. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, one of the attackers lowers his weapon. Then another. Then a dozen. Don't listen to her. Darius roars. She's trying to enslave you, bind you to her will. I'm offering you connection, not slavery, Kaya counters. Feel it for yourself. Reach for the wellspring through me. Take what you need, and then decide who's lying. She opens the bonds wider, letting pure power flow freely. And the attackers feel it, the difference between what they've been using and what they could have. Between corruption that eats at them slowly and connection that strengthens. More weapons drop. More attackers step back, choosing neutrality, if not alliance. But not all of them. Darius and his core group, maybe 20 diehards who've committed too much to turn back, press forward with renewed desperation. If we can't corrupt the wellspring, we'll kill its guardian. Darius screams, channeling every bit of dark energy he has left directly at Kaya's position. The attack is massive, a spear of corrupted power meant to pierce her defenses and destroy her entirely. If it hits, she dies. The wellspring loses its guardian. The conspiracy wins. But Kaya isn't alone anymore. Because in the seconds she's been manifesting the defensive shield, every loyal shifter in the palace has felt the connection strengthen. Every guard, every servant, every noble who isn't part of the conspiracy, they all feel the guardian protecting them. And they pour their strength back into her. Through the bonds, through the wellspring, through sheer collective will, hundreds of shifters lending her their power, their determination, their absolute refusal to let their guardian fall. When Darius's attack hits her shield, it doesn't break through. It shatters against the combined strength of an entire palace worth of loyal shifters, reflected and amplified through the guardian who's sworn to protect them. The backlash is catastrophic. The corrupted energy rebounds, striking Darius and his core group with the full force they meant for Kaya. They don't even have time to scream. The dark power consumes them from within, burning them to ash in seconds. Silence falls over the battlefield. The remaining attackers, those who didn't surrender but also didn't continue the assault, flee. Scrambling over rubble, disappearing into the dawn, choosing survival over commitment to a dead cause. Kaya lets them go. She doesn't have the strength to pursue, and honestly, she doesn't want to. They've been given a chance to feel pure connection. If they choose corruption again, she'll deal with them then. But for now, showing mercy costs her nothing and might win hearts she'd lose through vengeance. The silver dome fades slowly, power ebbing back into the wellspring like a tide receding. Kaya sways on her feet, suddenly aware of how much that took out of her. Her vision grays at the edges. Strong arms catch her before she falls again. Always again. I've got you, Kieran murmurs, and somehow he's here, at the top of the tower, holding her steady. You did it. They're gone. You saved us. We saved us, she corrects weakly. I felt them, all of them, lending me strength. I couldn't have done it alone. But you gave them something worth protecting. Someone worth fighting for. He carefully sits, cradling her in his lap, and she can feel his heart hammering. When I saw that attack coming for you, when I thought,
I'm okay.
We're okay. She cups his face with a shaking hand. Though I think I need a nap for about 3 days. His laugh is slightly hysterical. You've earned it. Around them, the palace is stirring back to life. Guards secure the perimeter. Healers tend the wounded. Servants begin the overwhelming task of cleaning up the destruction. But in this moment, at the top of the tower with dawn breaking golden across the city, Kaya and Kieran just hold each other. Survivors. Partners. Something stronger than either of them alone. They'll come again, she says quietly. The conspiracy is bigger than this. We hurt them today, but we didn't eliminate them entirely. I know. But next time, we'll be ready. And next time, they'll know what they're facing. Not just a new guardian, but one who's proven she can stand against an army and win. With help. With help, he agrees. Which is what makes you different from them. They see connection as weakness. You've proven its strength. Below them, Mira is coordinating recovery efforts. Talia, injured but alive, is helping identify which nobles were part of the conspiracy and which were victims. The palace is broken but standing, damaged but not destroyed. And throughout the kingdom, shifters are waking up feeling something they haven't felt in generations. True connection to the wellspring, uncorrupted and strong. Some will reject it, clinging to the conspiracy's lies about freedom and independence. But most will embrace it, will feel what they've been missing and understand what the Guardian represents. Kaya can already feel it through the bonds, gratitude, wonder, relief. Not everyone, not even most yet, but enough. A foundation to build on. Come on, Kieran says eventually. Let's get you somewhere safe to rest. Mira can handle the cleanup. The council needs to be reformed. Darius and 3 others are dead, which leaves 8. Can wait a few hours. The kingdom won't collapse if you take a nap. He stands, lifting her with him, and she's too exhausted to protest, being carried like a child. As they descend from the tower, shifters stop to stare. Not with fear this time, with awe, with respect. The Guardian saved us. She hears someone whisper. She shielded the entire palace. Did you feel it? The pure connection? It's been so long. Kaya wants to respond, to reassure them, but unconsciousness is pulling at her like a riptide. The last thing she's aware of is Kieran placing her gently on their bed, his hand smoothing her hair back, his voice a low rumble. Sleep, my priestess. Your kingdom is safe. Your mate is here. You can rest now. And finally, blessedly, she does. She sleeps for 16 hours straight, and when she wakes, the sun is setting again. Kieran is at the desk in their chambers, surrounded by reports and documents, but he sets them aside the moment he sees her stirring. Welcome back, he says with a slight smile. How do you feel? Like I got trampled by a herd of horses, then put back together wrong. She sits up slowly, testing her body. Everything aches, but it's manageable. How bad is the damage? 23 dead, mostly guards who were in the initial breach. 68 injured, but thanks to your healing effect during the shield, most of them will make full recoveries. 3 sections of the palace need significant repairs. He pauses. And we've identified 14 more conspirators among the nobility and military, all currently in custody, awaiting trial. Only 14? Out of what Darius claimed was hundreds. Either he was exaggerating, or the rest fled when they saw what you did. Myra sent scouts to track the ones who ran during the battle. He comes to sit on the bed beside her. But there's something else. Something you need to see. He hands her a letter, expensive parchment, sealed with an unfamiliar crest. She breaks the seal and reads, "To the Guardian of the Silver Flame. We acknowledge defeat in this engagement. Your display of power was instructive. However, this conflict is far from over. The Wellspring's restoration is a setback, not an ending. You believe connection is strength. We will prove it's a weakness. Every bond you maintain, every shifter you protect, is a hostage we can use against you. Every connection is a vulnerability. Enjoy your victory. It won't last." The Unbound Collective. Kaya's hands tremble slightly as she lowers the letter. The Unbound Collective. That's what they call themselves. Apparently. Arrogant bastards. Kieran's jaw is tight. They're right about one thing, though. Every connection you maintain does make you vulnerable. They could target anyone bonded to the Wellspring, knowing you'd feel it, be compelled to respond. Then I respond. Every time. Because that's what a Guardian does. She sets the letter aside. But we need to be smarter. More strategic. I can't just react to every attack. We need to find their base, their leadership, eliminate them at the source. Agreed. Which is why I've called in help. At her questioning look, he explains, "Remember Alpha Talia? She's been studying the old conspiracies, the groups that tried to undermine the Wellspring before. She thinks she can identify patterns, predict where the Unbound Collective might be operating from." That's good. We need intelligence more than raw power right now. Kaya stands, testing her balance. Steady enough. What else did I miss? The city is calling you a hero. The palace staff wants to throw you a celebration. The loyal council members want to formally recognize you as High Priestess in an official ceremony. He stands too, taking her hands. And I want to properly claim you as my mate in front of the entire kingdom, making it absolutely clear that you're under my protection, and anyone who threatens you answers to the throne. The mate claiming ceremony. The formal, public declaration of their bond. It would be political protection and personal commitment wrapped into one. When, she asks. Whenever you're ready. No pressure. Though sooner would be strategically advantageous. It would force any remaining conspirators in the nobility to either accept you or reveal themselves through opposition. Then let's do it soon. This week, if possible.
She squeezes his hands.
I'm tired of half measures and hidden status. Let them see exactly what they're up against. A guardian and her king, united and unbreakable. His smile is fierce. I was hoping you'd say that. They spend the evening planning not just the ceremony, but the broader strategy for rooting out the Unbound Collective. Talia joins them, bringing maps and historical records, pointing out locations where similar groups operated in the past. They'll have a central base, she explains, marking possibilities. Somewhere remote enough to avoid detection but connected enough to coordinate attacks. Based on the pattern of bloodline eliminations, I'd guess somewhere in the northern territories. The mountain regions where old temples used to stand. The old temples, Kaya repeats, something clicking. Could they be trying to access another wellspring? The keeper said the Temple of the Silver Flame is the primary site, but were there others? Talia's eyes widen. The histories mention subsidiary sites. Places where the wellspring's power pooled, not as strong as the main temple, but still significant. If they could corrupt one of those, they could create their own twisted version of the wellspring. Power without connection. Strength without bonds. Kaya's stomach sinks. That's their endgame. Not just destroying the wellspring, replacing it with something they control. Then we find them first, Kieran says with absolute certainty. And we end them before they get the chance. They work late into the night, planning expeditions to check the subsidiary sites, coordinating with loyal alphas to secure the territories, preparing for the mate-claiming ceremony that will publicly announce their united front. When they finally sleep, curled together in the massive bed, Kaya dreams not of temples or battles, but of something simpler, running through forests with a black wolf at her side, both of them free and powerful and together. When she wakes, Kieran is in wolf form beside her, magnificent, larger than any normal shifter, his fur dark as midnight, and his eyes still that burning gold. You were calling me. His voice resonates in her mind through their bond. In the dream. I didn't mean to. I don't mind. He shifts back to human form, completely unself-conscious about his nudity. It felt right, like how mates should connect. She reaches out, tracing the lines of his face. I'm glad your wolf finally got what he was searching for. We both did. He catches her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. Now we just have to keep it. We will, she promises. Whatever the Unbound Collective throws at us, whatever challenges come, we'll face them together. Guardian and King. Priestess and Wolf. Unbreakable. He kisses her then, deep and claiming and full of promise. And for just this moment, before the next battle, before the ceremony, before whatever comes next, they're just two people who found each other against impossible odds. Two broken pieces that somehow made each other whole. 3 days later, the great hall of the palace is transformed. Silver banners hang from every wall, embroidered with the ancient symbols of the luminal priestesses, symbols that haven't been displayed publicly in 8 centuries. Candles by the hundreds cast dancing light across stone and metal, creating an atmosphere that's both sacred and celebratory. Every major alpha in the kingdom has been summoned, along with pack representatives, nobles, military commanders, and citizens selected by lottery to witness what the official proclamations are calling the most significant mate claiming in living memory. Kaya stands in a private antechamber, staring at her reflection and barely recognizing herself. The dress is silver, Of course it is, but not the pale, washed-out silver of moonlight. This is the silver of flame, of power barely contained, shifting between bright and dark with every movement. It fits her perfectly, emphasizing the changes 3 days of constant wellspring connection have wrought. She's taller somehow, or maybe just stands straighter. Her eyes carry that faint silver glow permanently now, marking her as other, as more. You look terrified, Talia observes from the doorway. The older alpha has been acting as something between advisor and guardian, helping Kaya navigate the political complexities of her new position. I am terrified, Kaya admits. In about 10 minutes, I have to walk into a room full of people who 3 weeks ago wouldn't have acknowledged my existence and claim my place as both High Priestess and the King's mate. Some of them still think I'm cursed. Some of them probably wish Darius had succeeded.
Some of them, yes.
But most, Talia steps closer, adjusting the silver circlet in Kaya's hair. Most of them felt what you did during the attack. Felt the shield, the healing, the pure connection you offered even to the enemy. You gave them something they'd forgotten was possible. That's worth more than any title. And if it's not enough, then you remind them exactly what a guardian can do. Talia's smile is sharp. You're not that frightened girl in the servants' quarters anymore, Kaya. You're the most powerful shifter in this kingdom, including Kieran. Start acting like it. A knock at the door. Mira enters, dressed in formal guard regalia, her expression serious. It's time, Lady Kaya. His Majesty is waiting at the altar. Lady Kaya, High Priestess,
Guardian,
Mate to the King. So many titles for someone who spent 3 years trying to be invisible. All right, she says, squaring her shoulders. Let's do this. They walk through corridors lined with guards standing at attention, through doorways where servants bow with genuine respect instead of fear. The palace has changed in 3 days, or maybe Kaya has changed, and now she can see what was always there beneath the surface. The great hall doors stand open, and beyond them, hundreds of people wait in perfect silence. Kaya takes a breath and steps through. The effect is immediate. Every eye turns to her. Every conversation stops. The sheer weight of their attention is suffocating, but she doesn't let herself falter, doesn't let herself shrink. She walks down the center aisle with her head high and silver flames dancing subtly along her arms, not threatening, just present. A reminder of what she is, what she can do. And at the end of the aisle, standing before an altar carved with ancient protective wards, Kieran waits. He's magnificent in formal regalia, black and silver, his crown catching the candlelight, his presence commanding every bit of attention her power does. But when his eyes meet hers, all that authority softens into something warmer.
Pride,
Possession.
love.
She reaches the altar, and he extends his hand. She takes it, their fingers interlacing, and the mate bond flares so brightly that several people in the front row gasp. Because they can see it now, the golden thread connecting them, made visible by the wellspring's power, undeniable proof that this bond is real. People of the kingdom, Kieran begins, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. We are gathered to witness a claiming that is both traditional and unprecedented. Traditional because it follows the ancient rites of mate bonding that our ancestors honored. Unprecedented because the woman before me is not just my chosen mate. She is the High Priestess of the Silver Flame, guardian of the wellspring, keeper of the bonds that connect us all. He turns to face her fully, still holding her hand.
Kaya,
3 weeks ago, you were a shadow in my palace, unseen, unheard, dismissed by those who should have protected you. But I saw you. My wolf knew you. And when you needed saving, when forces both within and without this kingdom tried to destroy you, I swore I would stand between you and every threat. His voice drops, becomes more intimate even though hundreds are listening. Today, I ask you to stand with me. Not behind me, not as something to be protected, but beside me as an equal, as my mate, as my partner, as the person who makes me believe that maybe kings aren't meant to be alone after all. Tears prick her eyes. The formal words they'd planned are dissolving, replaced by raw honesty. Kieran, she says, and her voice shakes slightly but carries. 3 weeks ago, I was convinced I was cursed. That everyone I loved died because of what I am, and that I deserved to be invisible, to take up no space, to fade away entirely. But you refused to let me disappear. You saw power where everyone else saw curse. You saw strength where I only felt broken. She squeezes his hands. Today, I claim you as my mate, my king, my partner. The person who taught me that being seen isn't the same as being vulnerable, and that connection isn't weakness. It's the only thing that makes us strong enough to survive. The formal officiant, an elderly alpha who remembers the old ceremonies, steps forward with the binding cord. Silver thread woven with gold, representing the joining of guardian and king, power and authority, two paths becoming one. But before he can begin the traditional wrapping, Kaya feels it. A disturbance in the wellspring. Massive. Violent. Coming from north, she gasps. The Northern Territories. They're attacking one of the subsidiary sites. Trying to corrupt it right now while we're all gathered here. The hall erupts in controlled chaos. Guards moving to defensive positions. Alphas reaching for weapons they weren't supposed to bring to a ceremony. How many? Kieran demands, his hand going to the sword he absolutely did bring despite protocol. Kaya closes her eyes, feeling through the bonds. Dozens. Maybe more. And they're not just attacking, they're performing a ritual. Trying to twist the subsidiary wellspring into something corrupted. If they succeed, they create their own power source. Talia finishes grimly. Independent of your control. Independent of natural balance. Can you stop them from here? Kieran asks Kaya. I don't know. The distance. I can feel what's happening, but I don't know if I can reach far enough to counter it. Her eyes open, blazing silver. I need to go there. Physically.
Now.
Then we go. Kieran's already moving, barking orders. Mira, mobilize the fastest riders. Talia, coordinate the defensive shield here in case this is a distraction. Everyone else. Your Majesty, you can't leave during your own mate-claiming ceremony. One of the nobles protests. The political implications. The political implications of letting our enemies corrupt a sacred site are worse, Kieran snaps. This ceremony will wait. Our people's safety won't. He looks at Kaya, and in his eyes, she sees the same determination she feels. This is what they are now, not just mates, but partners in the truest sense. When one fight calls, they both answer. How long to reach the northern site, she asks. 4 hours if we ride hard, and I use royal authority to commandeer fresh horses at every station, Mira answers. But your Majesty, Lady Kaya, if this is a trap. Then we spring it together, Kaya says firmly. Because that's what the Unbound Collective doesn't understand. They keep trying to make me choose between protecting the wellspring and protecting the people I love. But those aren't different things. Protecting one means protecting the other. Then let's move. Kieran takes her hand again, and this time it's not ceremonial. It's partnership, pure and simple. We finish what they started, and then we come back and finish what we started. They run from the great hall in their ceremonial clothes, Kaya's silver dress streaming behind her like liquid flame, Kieran's crown abandoned on the altar because crowns slow you down in battle. Behind them, loyal alphas and guards mobilize, the ceremony forgotten in favor of the threat that won't wait. But as they reach the stables, as horses are saddled with desperate speed, Kaya feels something else through the wellspring. The attackers at the northern site aren't trying to hide anymore. They're broadcasting their presence, their intention, their challenge. And underneath the corruption they're channeling, she feels something familiar. A signature she recognizes from 3 years ago. From the night her family burned. They were there, she breathes. The people attacking the northern site, some of them were at my pack's destruction. I can feel it. The same corrupted signature, the same twisted power. Kieran's hand finds hers, steadying. then this is more than just stopping an attack. This is justice. This is war, she corrects. And one way or another, it ends tonight. They mount up, 12 riders total. Kieran and Kaya at the lead, Mira and 5 guards behind them, Talia and 3 warriors she personally selected.
Not an army.
But the best they have, and all they can mobilize quickly enough to matter. As they thunder through the palace gates and into the city streets, citizens stop and stare. Some cheer. Some pray. All of them understand, instinctively, that something significant is happening. That the Guardian and her king are riding to battle, and the kingdom's fate rides with them. They push the horses mercilessly, stopping only long enough at royal stations to switch to fresh mounts. 4 hours becomes 3 through sheer determination and Kieran's authority opening every possible shortcut. The sun is setting as they reach the foothills of the northern mountains, and Kaya can feel the corruption intensifying. The subsidiary wellspring is small compared to the main temple, more like a spring compared to an ocean, but it's still significant. Still powerful. And they're going to make it. Against all odds, they're actually going to. The explosion catches them by surprise. One of the ritual maintainers detonates himself, deliberately sacrificing his life, to create a blast of concentrated corruption that hits their formation like a hammer. Guards go flying. Horses scream and bolt. The protective wedge around Kaya shatters. And suddenly, she's exposed. 3 unbound members converge on her instantly, recognizing the opportunity. Dark energy wraps around her limbs, pulling her down, burning through her defenses. She fights back, silver flames flaring, but she's outnumbered and off balance. One of them raises a blade, aiming for her heart, and time seems to slow. This is it. She's going to die here, in this forgotten valley, before she's fully learned what being a guardian means. The wellspring will lose its connection. The corruption will complete. Everything she's fought for will fail. Then a black wolf slams into her attacker with the force of an avalanche. Kieran, transformed fully now, magnificent and terrible, tears through the 3 unbound members like they're made of paper. Blood flies. Screams cut short. In seconds, the threat is eliminated, and he's standing over her, growling a challenge at anyone else who might try. I'm okay, she gasps, pushing herself upright.
Kieran, I'm okay.
The shrine. He shifts back to human, naked and blood-splattered, and absolutely lethal. Then finish it. I'll keep them off you. She doesn't waste time arguing. Just runs the remaining distance to the shrine, throwing everything she has into reaching the wellspring stone before the ritual completes. Her hands hit the corrupted surface, and pain explodes through her entire body. It's like touching acid and fire simultaneously, the corruption trying to infect her, to flow backward through her connection and poison the main wellspring. For a heartbeat, she considers pulling away, saving herself. Then she remembers Tomlin, dying to protect her. Her family, burning so she could live. Kieran, standing between her and an army, without hesitation. No, she snarls, and instead of pulling away, she pushes deeper. She plunges her consciousness into the corrupted wellspring, into the twisted ritual the unbound collective has been building. And she tears it apart from the inside. It's not elegant. It's not controlled. It's just raw power and absolute determination, guardian authority overriding everything else. The corruption fights back, tries to consume her, but she's connected to the main wellspring, an ocean against their pond, and she simply drowns their work in pure, uncorrupted power. The shrine explodes with silver light. Every unbound member maintaining the ritual screams as their connection severs violently, the backlash hitting them all at once. Some fall unconscious. Some fall dead. All of them fall, the ritual shattered beyond repair. Kaya collapses too, the effort of purging the corruption taking everything she has left. But as she falls, she feels arms catching her. Always. Always someone catching her. Got you, Kieran murmurs, cradling her against his chest. You did it. It's over. Is it? She whispers, barely conscious. Because looking around the valley, at the dead and wounded, at the unbound members being restrained by her guards, at the subsidiary wellspring now pure but dormant, she realizes this isn't an ending. It's barely even a beginning. The Unbound Collective is bigger than 30 ritual workers. The conspiracy runs deeper than one corrupted site. And the war between those who believe in connection and those who want to destroy it has only just started. For tonight, it's over. Kieran amends, understanding her fear. We won this battle. The others can wait until you've rested. She wants to argue, wants to insist they need to pursue immediately, press their advantage, end this completely. But her body won't cooperate. Exhaustion drags at her like weights, and she feels herself fading despite her best efforts to stay conscious. Sleep, Kieran instructs, his voice gentle but firm. I'll protect you. I'll always protect you. Together, she manages one more time. Together, he agrees. And finally, she lets go. Dawn breaks over the valley. The battle is won. The shrine is purified. But questions remain. Questions that will shape the kingdom's future. Kaya, the girl who survived when everyone died. Who went from cursed to sacred in 3 weeks. Who wields power that terrifies and amazes in equal measure. Would you have chosen her side? Would you have stood with the Guardian, accepting connection even when it meant vulnerability? Or would you have joined the Unbound, seeking strength in isolation, power without bonds? Would you have believed in her when she was still broken? Or only after she proved herself in fire and blood? And if you were the one carrying that weight, the responsibility for thousands of connections, the target painted on your back by those who fear what you represent, would you have found the courage to stand tall? Or would you have run, choosing safety over purpose? These are the questions that haunt her still, in quiet moments between battles. Because being a guardian isn't just about power. It's about choice. About deciding every single day to carry the weight, to protect the bonds, to stand for connection even when isolation would be easier. She's not perfect. She's terrified more often than not. She makes mistakes, pushes too hard, nearly breaks under the pressure. But she keeps standing. Because somewhere, in the darkest moment of her life, a wolf saw her and refused to look away. A king chose her when he could have had anyone. A destiny claimed her when she'd given up on having any future at all. And if that can happen to the girl who hid in root cellars while her world burned, maybe it means broken isn't the same as finished. Maybe it means cursed can become blessed if you're willing to do the work. Maybe it means even the loneliest soul can find their pack if they just keep breathing long enough.
So,
would you have chosen her? Would you choose connection over isolation? Would you stand with the Guardian or against her? The war isn't over. The Unbound Collective still lurks in the shadows, planning their next move. The kingdom still struggles with generations of weakened bonds and faded magic. And Kaya still has so much to learn about being the Guardian, the priestess, the mate to a king who carries his own burdens. But for this moment, in this dawn light, she's alive, victorious, held by someone who sees all her broken pieces and loves her anyway. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. If this story lit something inside you, if you felt the fire, the fear, the fierce hope that even the most broken can rise, then you belong here. Subscribe to Shayla's Romance Library, because we tell the tales that others are afraid to touch. The stories where love isn't soft, it's steel. Where power costs everything and saves everything. Where the cursed become queens and the broken become whole.